back window section in it. So as far as I know, other than where the package tray meets the back window on the inside, is a little bit of difference between a 50 and a 51. That's the only thing you'll run into that'll be different between these two cars. As most of you know, I have a video on a two-door Mercury, but I feel like it's time that a four-door needs to be done. Of course, I know there's some already been done, and but it's going to come down to the four doors, I think, because the two doors are not going to last forever. And I feel like a four door, if it's chopped right, looks just as good to me as a two door does. I went ahead and took out all the interior was taken out before the car came to me, but I went ahead and took all the glass, inside moldings, seat, the trim, the vent windows, windshield, anything that will catch a fire in here or burn and ruin it has been removed with this car. The dash in this car is upholstered, and rather than to take all that off, I've covered it all with cardboard and taped around the edges. It also has a center console where the main source of the wiring is, so I just covered that in cardboard and taped it up so that wouldn't get sparks in it and dirt and all this kind of stuff. You need to do some preparation other than cleaning the car out before you start doing any cutting to it. I usually take the car when I get it located where I want it, and of course you can strip all this stuff out and all this stuff before you do any of that. But when you get it setting where you want to do your work at, you need to air your tires up, make sure they're all the same. You need to take your level, put across the back of the frame, make sure the car is sitting level side to side. Do the same thing at the front, put a level up under your front frame bones, making sure nothing's been bent. Get it level, both front and rear, side to side. Now, in this particular car, this particular chop job, you don't have to worry so much about front to rear. Of course, you don't want it way off, but it don't have to be perfect. You've got some wiring, if you hadn't changed it, going up through your windshield post, back through here to your tail lights, gas tank, and all that stuff. You need to disconnect those or pull those up out of this post. Store them back in the trunk somewhere or take them all the way out, whichever the case may be. But you don't want to cut any of that into. You need to disconnect your battery. You don't want to short out anything while you're doing all this stuff. You need to adjust all your doors and your door latches. Now, don't worry so much about this gap up in here. That'll all be changed. But make sure that this part is right and on down to the bottom is right, and of course, front to rear. Now, I know these old Mercury's, the doors are pretty much set the way they are. But outside the hinge pins being worn and maybe jerked open or whatever over the years, I know this door was sagging just a little bit, so was the right rear one. Could have been from being that over there, could have been from being opened back too far at one time. I took my jack with a 2x4 on it, set right under here, and jacked up. Done it 2 or 3 times. I didn't want to overdo it. I picked it up to where everything lined up in here. Also, you've got to brace everything up. Well, this door seems to be sticking. It wasn't sticking earlier. Well, this is because I put this brace in here just a few minutes ago. But I always like to brace up the cowl section down to like where your seat bolted to the frame in the floor. That way when you cut this post, this cowl section won't go forward or back. We'll show you more bracing in here, but you want everything to stay where it's at. I don't know what condition your floor is in. You may want to take that into consideration and fix all that before you get into this roof. If your body's been off the frame, that can create problems if you don't have the right rubber donuts over the body mounting holes to the frame. You need to be careful with all that stuff. And that's what the bracing is for, to take care of all that. I know we're changing the back window in this car to another rear window. But if you're using the same window or changing it, you need to get in the center of the car, make you a scribe line from the deck lid to the rear window. Now that has to be centered. There's a little bead right on the package tray there that you can go by. You go straight up through the car, you make your scribe line up into the roof here. And if you want to double check yourself, you can pull it from a point over to here in a certain place, trim hole or whatever, come up, do the same on each side. That way when you cut this back window section out of this car and put it back in there, you've got a point to go to here and a point to go to here. That'll keep you from putting this window in side to side, off center, or if you get it cocked this way. That'll all affect the looks of your roof when you get through. I will go ahead and tell you two things. First of all, this will be my first four-door cut of any kind of car. And luckily this is my 25th Mercury at this time. I don't know if it just worked out that way, but I've chopped a number of other different kind of cars. I've videoed on a lot of them. But like I say, I feel like the four doors are what it's going to come to once all the two doors are gone. And another thing, I'll probably do in a lot of this, I'll probably do one side first, then I'll come to the other side. While I'm doing it, I'll show you how to do this side. That way, if there's any mistakes I make, we won't have to back up and redo the video. This is an in-process, step-by-step, in detail. It should show you everything you need to know as far as the metal work. I don't get into the filler work or the finish work. In other words, when you get a car back, you can see what's been done to it. There won't be anything covered up. Now getting into the bracing I was telling you about, the center door post, I've got it braced off each direction over to some strong point in the floor. The reason you have to do that is once you cut this post in two, it could move in and out or back and forth. You want to keep it where it is because you've got your doors lined up to it. And I was telling you about bracing from the kind of up around the top door hinge back down to where a strong place in the floor would be, like where your body mounts to the frame or your seat mounts through to the frame. Also, I put a brace in from about this top door hinge here down to bottom. That'll keep this quarter from flexing in or out once everything's cut in two. Just to be safe. Now, at times on two doors, I've had this to happen, and you got to compensate for it. But mark your point. You can see on this car where I've got a yellow mark right there on the back of that framework. I pull me a tape from that point to a point on the front door jamb, making sure there's nothing in your way going through there with a straight line of a tape. You need to mark up here where you put your tape to and write your measurement down on that door jamb. That way when you cut this roof and get it set off on the floor, you can go back and take note of that. Do that on each side. They'll tell you whether or not your body has sagged in the middle. Now I know you can go ahead and put you a brace through there if you want to, but you're going to have to climb in and out over and around it and under it and whatever while you're getting in and out of the car. Depending on how old you are and how big you are is how much trouble it's going to cause you. Another thing, I scribed me a mark here, the lower part of this doorpost on both doors and this centerpiece. That way, when I get the top cut off, I can shut these doors back and see if that lines up. I know your hinges are going to catch it somewhat, but get used to the feel of your door hinges. You got them adjusted right. There shouldn't be any dragging when you push them up there. They shouldn't hit that striker and lift up or go down or whatever. And while you're leveling your car, don't stick anything under your frame. Stick it under your wheels. You go to sticking it out here like at the back of the frame rail, you're going to pick this up and it's going to tend to make it droop in the middle of it. Same way on the front. Now I've left the back window in this car because, like I said, I'm going to put a 50 back window in it and back roof section. So I'm just going to, when I cut this out, I'll cut it all out at once, and that way we won't have a glass laying around with no frame around it. And you can also see where I have put the scribe mark up through here. That'll help me locate things when I go back. You can do one more thing at this point. Stand in the center of the car. Now I'm talking about lining up. Like I say, there's a little bead going through your package tray in the center, front to back. You need to line that up with the peak of the hood, right in the center of the car. It's kind of hard to do this with a video camera because the camera's setting off to one side of where I'm looking. But you need to come up to a point or get up on something and make sure that the top of your window opening, when you raise up or down, comes down and touches the bottom of this windshield opening at the same time. That'll let you know what's straight and what's not. Now, on most cars, they'll be like 1/4 of an inch. One side will be a little higher than the other. When you raise up, I'm talking about, and get that top of that back window opening, make it disappear at the bottom corners of the windshield. You need to go back, when you go back with the back roof section, back window, you need to make sure that stays the same. Don't get one side a lot higher than the other, because that'll show up under the right eye. You can see here where I put some little blocks of 2x4s under these hinges to pull them down, because I'm going to be cutting across here and they just get up there in your way. So we're ready to do some marking, some taping, figure out what we're going to take out, how much we're going to take out. In this case, I'm going to take 4 inches out of the windshield post. That is a diagonal line there. That windshield post is diagonal. I'm going to take 4 inches out of it. At the back of this back door, I'm going to take 4 inches vertical right through there. Now what you're actually doing here is you're taking about 2 3/4 vertical out of the roof at the front. You're taking 4 out at the back. And what you're going to be doing you see the crown of this roof is back here, kind of over the back door. We're going to move that crown up about over the driver's head. It gives the car a lot more flow in line, makes it look better. This car is sitting close to level. It's a little bit higher in the rear now because there's no seat and trunk lid and stuff like that in it, glass and whatever. But that also changes with the rake of your car, so to speak, but most people with customs have them level or maybe a little bit lower in the back. So that'll even help with the flow going through there. I've gone ahead here and marked off one of our windshield posts. You need to take note here. Check the gap opening of your drip rail as you go up through here. Make sure it's the same space down inside that drip rail up through here. Make sure it's the same gap in there, in other words. You'll notice if you put a straight edge out here on the outside, there is very little curve to that drip rail. Maybe a 1/16 of an inch curve in it in that 12-inch distance right there. So you make sure you keep everything like that through this process here. Now, you'll notice too that this edge here being straight as it is, this window opening has got a curve to it. In other words, the width of this post is thinner in this area than it is up here or down here. So what you have to do is measure from this drip rail over to this corner. Not the opening, but this corner here. When you measure across that, you got to get that distance and this distance the same distance, the same measurement across here, both top and bottom cuts. So what you're looking at is when you bring this back down, you want this drip rail to meet, you want this corner to meet this corner. If you cut this one too little and this one too big, well then you're going to have an offset here. You want it as close as possible. Now when you determine where you say your bottom cut is, you take your piece of masking tape and you go around this post. It has to go around this post in a straight line all the way around it. In other words, what you do when you tape across here, you start down this way, you stand on the other side of the car, and you look at this side and this side in one line. Make sure that tape is going straight and not getting high or low back here or up here. As you come on around, you can look at it from this angle. Or out here, you can see this and this in here from straight out this way. You make sure that is a straight line with that tape. You can't have it going this way. It has to be straight. What I usually do is try to square it up as best I can with this drip rail and then come around it. But like I say, you have to look at it from different angles, different sides to make sure that's straight. Once you're satisfied that you have a straight tape line around there, you take this is just a 6/8 stainless steel scale. You put your 4-inch mark on the edge of this tape. You take your scribe and you make a mark up here. You do that like out here in the center, over here. Do it about 6 or 8 times around that post. Then when you put this other piece of tape on, you follow that line. No matter where you measure this distance in here, which side, which corner, it should be 4 inches. Now then, however you want to cut this, what works best for you? A lot of people, especially collision body shops, the people that's working percentage, They want to get the job done as quick as they can get it done. Well, I don't do it the quick way, I do it the right way. I use a plain old hacksaw with a 24 tooth blade. Because if you get a sawzall in here, or skill saw, whatever a lot of people want to use, you might see what you're doing where you're cutting right here, but you can't see what you're doing back here. With a hacksaw, you can follow yourself. You can saw a little bit and you can check. Another thing, using a hacksaw. If you have one of those old hacksaws that's got a thumb screw in the back of it, it needs to go from your toolbox drawer to the trash can. You get you a good hacksaw. One that will cut straight as you cut. It won't get to turning off on the top this way and the bottom this way. You get you a good hacksaw, it'll cut straight. And you don't fight it. You don't see how fast you can push it or how hard you can ride it to get it through there. The saw will cut its own speed. Don't drag back on the teeth. Cut as you push your cutting stroke. Don't drag it backwards. Take the weight off of it or what little weight you have on it when you come backwards. It'll last this whole top if you treat it right. But that'll tell you what we're doing right in here. We've done the windshield post on the other side the same way we've done this. And when you get this piece cut out of here, this piece plus a saw cut on each end should equal 4 inches anywhere you want to cut it. Now I will tell you this, you know, I told you that this cut in the front vertically would be like 2 3/4 of an inch. Whereas in the back there, we're going to cut it 4 vertical. So you may find out that when you set the top back on here, it'll be touching back on this side, on the back side, there'll be a little gap up here. That's because you're taking it, now this is showing you from the side of the car, you're taking it and doing it this way because you're cutting more out of the back. But that should not be, it shouldn't be a 1/16 of an inch, just enough that you know it's touching back here and got a little gap up here. If you want this right here to touch, then just take your little grinder and grind off a little bit on the back side to make that fit all the way around. So I'll go ahead and tell you another thing right in here. This post, I know it's leaning back that way, it's also leaning in this way. It's not straight up, it's leaning over that way. So when you set your top back on after you've got all the amount cut out of it, when you set this top back on here, this top part will be inside this bottom part. In this case here, roughly about 3/8 of an inch. That this top part will be inside the bottom part. We'll get into that a little later on when we get back to it. But what you got to do is you've got to notch this right down through the center of this bend. You've got to cut it. Take out roughly 1/8 of an inch will be plenty. And then get up here in the top in the middle of this bend and cut back in here. And what you're going to be doing is pulling that out and pushing this in, keeping this grip rail in line like we showed you just a second ago, like so. But we'll get into that after we get on in there. We're going to move on now to our back of our back door, back in this area, and mark off back there our 4 inches vertical. We have our back section laid out here for a 4-inch cut. What I'm really shooting for here, you know, the windshield is leaned back on this car. And what I'm trying to do is to cut enough out of here to where this bottom edge of this grip rail on the side next to the door comes out at this point when I move the top forward and down to meet my windshield post. In other words, I'm trying to get that to come out right here. It may be that I'm taking too much. I can't say for sure at this point. But what we're just going to have to do is take this amount out. Like this will come back to here. And of course, when you move your top forward and down, this point will come out to this point. And of course, it'll shift forward as it does so. So this, when I cut this whole window section out here, this corner right here will come out up here. It won't be down here. It'll be going forward too. So will this. But, and then too, you see where I've made this bottom cut here between the seam for the grip rail and the door opening is somewhat level with the car. This quarter is going downhill now, so that's why I came up and got into the roof section as I came back. It's about a ½ inch up back here on the roof section, and it's right in the corner of the body panel line up at the front. That gets us out of this seam down here. So when we weld it back, we won't have to contend with that welding the top to the quarter, so to speak. It'll still be welded to what's left of this roof section underneath our tape line. And then when we put our top back on and get this like we want it here, we can get rid of this dog leg look to this back door. In other words, this frame will just come right down, right into where the door meets the quarter. We'll do away with the quarter windows because we'll be making this window a whole lot smaller in length and height. So really, you're just going to be messing up the lines to put this big window back in it. We will put the front one back in. But I just, like I say, laid me a piece of tape in there and put me a straight edge right in the corner. That'd be about a ½ inch up back here, and took me a knife and cut the edge of my tape off in a straight line, because it's in that valley there. And I measured up exactly 4 inches at this point and this point, and put me a straight edge up there and marked it with a scribe, and then put me a tape line on it that way. Went ahead and marked off around our back window opening. That's usually the first thing I cut, is just take this whole back window section out and get it out of the way. Now you can see our door opening on the inside where I've come on in and went back. This is more or less just eyeballing the front to back part and eyeballing it coming in here. So you got to, carry that cut all the way through there. And then at some point in this, before you start cutting anything, where this package tray goes up and meets that back window opening, you've got to go across just above where all your trunk hinge support is and cut this panel in two across. If you're working on a 49 or a 50, there'll be a piece from your back window opening going down in line with the window to the package tray. You'll have to cut that out. And also on a 49 or 50, when you get the back roof and back window section out of it, that piece is like spot welded across there that's coming from your package tray up to the window opening. Just take you a grinder or a drill or whatever and get those spot welds out and take that piece off. Because when you come back with your back roof section and lay your window down flatter, that's going to get in the way there. So just get it out of the way before you ever get to that point. And then two, this support, if I can show it to you here, this support is coming down from the top of your rear window down to the quarter. You need to cut that in two at the bottom down there. And I usually go ahead and cut it in two up here at the top, right at the corner of the window, and get that out of the way. And like I said a while ago, I use a hacksaw to make all these cuts in these posts. I get back into here. I have a die grinder with a Ziz wheel on it. They call it a 1/32 wheel. Actually, it cut out about a 16th, just the moving around of the wheel while you're cutting it. But you're looking at it here, and by the way, that is a Walter. The reason I'm telling you this is because I have never found any other brand of wheel that will come anywhere close to lasting near as long as a Walter does. It'll outlast the other ones 3 or 4, 5 to 1. In other words, I can cut, I'm not going to cut it all the way out, but I could cut this all the way across here, all the way across and down the other side, and most of this around here with one wheel. Now I have a bigger die grinder than these little old $30 ones you buy, but they're just as good. They don't have as much power. But the trick to a die grinder or cut-off wheel like that is to keep it going as fast as you can keep it going with your air pressure. And if it feels like it starts chattering with you, well then you don't want that. That'll make it wear out real quick. Now we're going to move on to our center door post, and I'm going to have to do a little thinking on that first, because on a 2-door, when you go down and forward with your windshield post, the top part of this post, you can just cut it in two, so to speak, and the top part will go over in front of the bottom part. But I don't believe that's going to work on this 4-door because that post is too thick front to back. So we're going to have to do a little figuring right here on this deal. You can also see in this bottom tape line I have here, about a foot back from the door opening, I come up into that little feature line, belt line, so to speak. It goes around underneath the back window. I just like to get up in that. That'll keep you out from being too low back in here. But do draw you a tape line and cut by that tape line. You can pull that tape up and put it back down and get it right, because you want this to be a smooth, even flowing line in this tape line back here. You'll pay for it later on if you don't get it straight. You start weaving in and out with it, you're going to run into more headaches as we go back with the top and the back window. Of course, you can see where I've got everything marked with a marker to remind me which side of the tape line to cut on. I don't think I mentioned that up here at the front, but I usually make my cuts inside my tape lines. Carry that process through all the way, and that way you won't get confused and cut out too much. I feel like I've made a pretty good estimate here on how much to cut out of this center door post. I've done some figuring up here in the front. I said it was like 2 3/4 inches. It's more like 3 inches if you want to measure straight up and down here on a vertical cut. So we're taking 3 out here vertical, and we're taking 4 out at the back vertical. Halfway between this point and the windshield come out about 2 or 3 inches ahead of this post. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is from 3 to 4 back here it gets wider as it comes back, if you should pull you like a straight line through there. And I figured it 2 ways. I did take me a straight edge and put it against my tape mark here, a flexible straight edge that would go around this post, so to speak, up to the front, and I marked it. And I done the same thing on the top mark, up to the top mark up here in the same location, like the bottom edge of the drip rail. That came out about 1/4 inch more than what I've got this marked out here. I've got it marked out 3 1/2. So I feel pretty positive that somewhere between 3 1/2 and 3 3/4 is what we need out of here. But I'd rather go back and trim off another 1/8 or so to make it right is to have to try to weld up a 1/4 inch gap all the way around that post. And this piece you see coming down, our piece, it's this rib coming down through the center of it here that's between your doors. It gets wider as it goes up. So you're going to have to do a little fill-in right in there. It's not going to be 1/16 of an inch on each side there. No, not even enough really to put an extra piece of metal in there. I think the filler work, finish work will take care of that where it is. And I come down, if you want to measure to make it easier, from this turn-in line right here, that's about where your belt line of your doors is. From there up to this first cut was 5.5 inches. And then, of course, I cut out a 3.5 right there I'm going to. And you can see on the other side there, if I can get up there to it, fix it where you can see it pretty good, that second rectangular hole, not that one, but there's one I got taped over, and here's another one. That part right there, you can see pretty much what I'm cutting out of it. In other words, that top tape line, the cut line, is right at the bottom of that second, or really the first rectangular hole coming down. And then come down there. At that point, you're about halfway of the doorpost as far as what you're going to have below your cut and what you're going to have above your cut. And into the width of your post this way is the same at each location. So that way when it comes back down, it'll line up right. You're going to have to do some work in here to get this post straight up and down, but we'll get into that after we get the top set back on, and you can see more of what you have to do without me trying to explain it and you not understand it right now. So our next step we're going to make is we're going to go ahead and cut that reinforcement rib going across that back window and down to the 1/4. We're going to cut that out like from the corner of the window up here at the top down at the belt line. We're going to take those two pieces out, and then I'm going to cut this whole back window section out and get it out of the way. And I will use the little Ziz wheel I showed you a little bit ago. I will use it to start me a cut here this direction, and I'll make it to make me one this direction. Also up here I'll use it. What I'll use other than that, I use just a regular old saber saw that has an oscillating blade. In other words, a jigsaw. In other words, it's got an oscillating bit on where the blade does this as it cuts. In other words, it goes into the metal when it's cutting and back away from it on the backstroke. And I use a 36 tooth per inch blade. 36 tooth per inch. Or 36 teeth per inch if you want to get more correct about it. But they do real good. You'll break one before you wear it out. And they're only like $1.35 for two of them. That's cheaper than $2 for a Ziz wheel. I'll mention something else here. When you pull your tape across above your back window there to make that cut, make it a straight line. Because when we put this other back window roof section, or if you already have a 49 or a 50 and you meet this back up right here, you want a straight line. We're not going to overlap anything. It's all going to be butt welded and fitted up. So if you tuck off across there with an air chisel or a torch or something like that, you're just going to make a crooked edge and it's going to be harder to get back to it. We're not going to worry about the door window frames at this point because we won't be cutting them, not necessarily at the same place we did the other part of the car. I know we're not going to cut this area here the same, and we're not going to cut the front door window frame the same in the same place. We have to cut those where they come back and meet together good. Now we've got our back window section cut out of the way there, laying off to the side. And our next cut will be the windshield post. Now on these other cuts, make the top cut first. We're going to make every cut, the top cut. Then we can set the top off on the floor. Then we'll come back and make the bottom cuts. It's kind of hard to hold that top down over in the middle of the floor and cut off the top cut after you've done got it off the car. When you cut your back window out, if you're going to use the same window, if you're going to change it, first thing you do after you get it cut out is take you a deburring tool or a file, whatever the case may be. This is a deburring tool. It's kind of like a pencil, got like a hook, hardened steel end on it. And you just take that deburring tool, hook it on the edge of your metal, pull it like so, and it'll just curl up that little raw edge out there. You can get them at any precision machinery supply place. Don't cost but just a couple, $3 there. Comes in handy for a lot of things. Pay for itself in skimp knuckle. So we'll get these other cuts made. Now the first thing you notice when you make this first cut on this windshield post, when you go through, make sure nothing jumps. In other words, like the post kicks back or kicks out this way or whatever. It needs to be where you can take your hand and line it back up, in other words, when you get through. If it jumps when you cut it in two, well then it's going to throw your doors off or something's going to change somewhere, so you have to start looking and see what the problem is and correct it before you set your top back on. Went ahead and made our top cut there on our windshield post. This side over here opened up just enough that I could pull the hacksaw blade out without it pinching. And even with the cut itself, it's not open over a 1/16 of an inch there now. And on the other side, it had to kind of mess around with my hacksaw a little bit to get it back out, but everything stayed pretty much where it was. You can take your hand and push and pull just on between one piece and the other there and make everything come back right. So I feel like we're okay there. After I made the cuts on the both windshield posts, I opened and shut my doors to make sure they wasn't dragging or hanging anywhere. And by the way, you know, when I first started, that door there was hard to unlatch and open. I displayed some lubricant on it, on the latch assembly itself, and everything just slick as a button after that. I must have just got it galled or something there, messing with it so many times. We'll go on now, and I don't guess it makes any difference which one of these back ones you cut first, just whichever one you feel like cutting. I feel like that post up there is going to pinch any way you look at it, because the front of the back part of the roof is going to be pushing down on it. So just whichever you decide to do will be all right. Went ahead here and made the rest of our cuts in the upper cut line. Used a hacksaw to go through the framework and my Zizz wheel to finish it on out in the sheet metal part. When I cut this doorpost, before I cut it, I went in here and pushed up on the windshield opening, I mean the door window frame opening there, pushed up on that and stuck me a 1/16 inch shim down through there where I cut it on both sides. And then when I cut these in two, that didn't pinch my blade there. Everything seems to be pretty much still in place here. All we need now is 2 warm bodies to help me set this roof off. I used to do it by myself, but there's a lot of things I used to do by myself that I don't do by myself anymore. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about there. Once we get the top set off, we can go back and cut off our bottom cuts. And while we have the roof off, sitting over here on the floor, that would be a good time. You can just set it on your windshield post and push it up against the wall. In other words, set it up this way, upright, looking at the bottom side of it with your windshield post on the floor. That'd be a good time to take your putty knife or whatever and get in there and get that old tar paper-like sound deadening stuff out of it. Because more than likely you're going to put some other kind of insulation in there anyway, and you're going to have to take it off back here in the back to do your slicing and welding and everything. And then too, everywhere you're going to be putting it back, where you're going to be contacting it down here with the car on the post and all, take your little grinder and go around all those posts and grind that paint and stuff off of there. Because that stuff don't weld very good. Everything looks good at this point. Now, I'm sure somebody there didn't put the bracing in. They didn't think it's necessary. When they made the cuts, everything got off cue. And they don't really know what got off cue. It's kind of like using a road map. If you know where you are, you can go anywhere you want to, but if you don't know where you are, it's kind of hard to get started. We've got our top all cleaned off underneath with all the old tar paper sound deadener and fiberglass insulation and stuff, and ground the ends of our post there where we're going to be putting it back on the car. Got our mount cut out. Back in here that we're going to take out of it, 4 inches in this case. Got the windshield post cut down, got our center door post cut down, and everything ground off on that end too. Went ahead and marked off our door window frames here. You can see on this one where I've got it taped off back about roughly 5 3/4 or 6 inches from this tip back here back, and then going 90 degrees to where your glass fits across it, about the same on the other side. Going back and then of course just slicing it from there out on the jamb side back here. What we're really going to be doing here, if everything works right, we're going to be cutting some of this amount out right in here, from here back to whatever it takes to get this part even back here. Now, what that's going to look like when we get through is something like this here on the front. In other words, that door window frame just going to come on down into that door seam. So what we're going to wind up doing is we're going to have to add a piece from, say, this point on down in here. And we'll have to do that several different ways. We'll have to, where the jamb of the door comes up in here, we'll have to go on in with that. Have to work with it a little bit there. Now, I'm not sure that I've got this cut back far enough or what, but my mistakes in any of this will be your gain. That's why you have the tape anyway, to do it without messing something up. So if I make a mistake, you'll learn from it, and so will I too. But you'll learn from it before you make the mistake, hopefully. I went ahead and marked off the door window frames up here. I just roughly kept it at 3.5 inches, and I measured from here to where it dropped off in there. Make sure it was the same, 3.5 inches apart there. We're just going to make this bottom cut at this point. Same way up here at the windshield. I went in where it's going to be the same up through here, and I believe I'm safe in saying if you're about 1/2 inch below this screw hole here that holds your garnish molding on when you make your top cut, come down over how much you chopped your car, put this bottom one in there. We'll get into how much to cut off and all that stuff later on here, but that'll get us where we want to be now to get those door window frames out of the way when we set our top back on there. And then two, you're going to have to go in here, grind the paint off on all this stuff. You're real close to where everything's put together right in here. So take your little thin Ziz wheel and get all in there good. Get this old weather sealer stuff out from the backside, because that's just going to contaminate your wheel and you'll have pinholes in it and all that stuff. We'll go ahead and cut these door window frames off now, and then we'll be ready to set the windshield back on. And then we'll see how bad off I figured everything and what we've got to do to correct it. That may be looking at it with a negative attitude, but if you're expecting something not to work, then you're not going to be disappointed. Before I set the top back on, I'll take me a piece of metal, put it against this door jamb coming up the windshield post. They'll stick up 1 inch or so above this bar here. Use a pair of vice grips to clamp it on there. That way when we set the top back on, that windshield post will rest against that and not fall off the back side of it. The back, of course, will just sit up on this part right here. It's taken me probably about 4 hours to cut these cuts off, grind all these edges back, take all this old tar paper stuff out of the inside of the roof. I just went ahead and took every bit of it out, used a putty knife and scraped it all clean. Not any kind of time factor involved as far as I'm concerned, but just to give you an idea of what you're looking at here. After we got our door window frames cut off, you can see where this goes back toward the back here, that direction. Well, our door opening is going to come down kind of in this direction. So you see where I got this piece of tape at an angle right there. We're going to have to cut off that point sticking back there, so to speak. I'll open the door up here and show you on the inside kind of what we're talking about on the jamb area. The back of that door coming up here is going to have to come straight on up. And of course here it's beginning to go back this way. Going to have to get rid of that part. And then you can see there's like a lap over piece right here where this goes down inside of the jamb of the door. So we're going to cut it right along where that lap over is right there. Come over in this corner and cut back up through here. And we'll have to fabricate a piece to go back in there to kind of look like the front door does at that point. But we're going to have to cut that out of there now because that top's going to set back down and this little point back here on the back edge is going to get in the way. We've got this piece cut off of this back door here. Thought I'd give you another little shot there. I'll show you over on the other side what we're talking about there. You can see down in there where we went down the corner, straight down, and then across the jamb, talking about over that way and then back up along that other edge there. To get all that out of the way, we'll have to fabricate pieces, I'm sure, to go back in there. But you can see what you're looking at there. Cut it down through here and then across, back up. But we've got it now to where we can put our roof back on without anything getting in the way other than this door post right here, the front door window frame. We won't be able to close that door because when we go back on, the top part of this door post is going to be sitting out here about 2.5 inches or so. So this door will stop when it comes up like that against it. But we've done checked everything out here and got all of our doors checked out to make sure they're still opening and closing like they did, nothing sagging anywhere. I will tell you at this point, if you should run into this, I've had it run into it on other cars, 2 doors. If it wants to kind of go together, so to speak, here, your door gap wants to get tied up toward the belt line, you can take you a jack and put right underneath your frame, about where the leaf spring comes to here, and jack up. I don't mean you got to pick the car up, but when you start putting pressure against that, the weight of everything back this way will kind of hold it down. And as you start jacking up, you can see this gap open back up. And, you know, if you need a 16th or something like that to get it back right, well, then you can get it that way. But I would do both sides. I wouldn't have the car jacked up on this side and twist the body, so to speak, or twist the frame. I would do it kind of on both sides there. Of course, now once you get this all welded in, your top itself, I'm talking about the back window area, all the top put back on, all the posts connected up, welded up, then you can take your supports out and it'll stay that way. The door window frames on this car, and just about any of them I've messed with, they had a lot of gap up between the door window frame and the drip rail. And the jamb itself on the inside there was a pretty good sized crack in there. So that's why we only cut one cut on these door window frames. When we go back in there with them, we're going to try to get them a little tighter and get that gap closed up some there. If you're one of these people that wants to take your drip rail off, I want to remind you of one thing. When you do that, you're going to run into a big gap around your door, because this drip rail, you see the end, this is the windshield post I cut out. This is the drip rail on the edge out here. You see how that drip rail comes out and droops down and goes back up? Well, if you cut that drip rail off, you're going to have a big gap, I mean close to a 1/2 inch gap, between the top of your door window frame and the roof line. Personally, I like to leave the drip rails on. 2 reasons for that. Number one, when you open the door and it's raining, it won't dump a bunch of water in your lap when you're trying to get out of the car. Number 2, you're going to have a line through here of a door gap that's going to stick out worse if a car is painted a light color, especially. It's going to stick out worse than it will if this drip rail is left on. And another thing, this drip rail breaks up the distance between your window opening and the top of the roof. You see, I'm talking about the crown of the top, so to speak, the distance in here. That drip rail breaks that up. When you take the drip rail off, you're more or less looking at the window opening down here to the top of the roof, and that gets taller. Now, this is just my opinion, but to me, that don't look as good. But it's just whatever a fellow wants to do. But I just want to tell you that you're in for a lot of work of filling this in or building up your window frame or your door to come up to close that gap up. Now I've seen you, I notice you've seen this big black creature over here walking around. That's Miss Tootie. She's half Rottweiler, half German Shepherd. That was not a mistake. That was intentional. She's almost 2 years old at this point. So the next time we turn the camera on, hopefully, you'll see the top sitting back on the car and you can see how much lower it is than what it was before we took it off. We've got our roof set back on. You can see that there's quite a bit of difference there, and we don't even have the door window frames on the doors yet. And you can see that the back point here of this back door is going to be rounded out with the frame, so this window's going to look almost like a coupe window when we get through with it here. Everything went pretty good. Now it's just been set back on. I didn't want to do anything here other than just set it on there straight so I could tell a little more about what I was looking at, but we'll open up the doors here and I'll point out a few things to you. In getting this windshield set up, what you're looking for here, let me get around in front here and I'll show you what I'm talking about more so. You've got to get your windshield centered left to right. And what you do is measure from this corner, not the edge, but this outside corner right here where it drops off to meet your windshield rubber. Measure from that one over to this one, the bottom and the top, and you equalize that side to side. In this case, it's just a little bit shy of 7/16 of an inch from that edge to this edge. Another thing you're looking for, now that'll get you centered side to side there at your windshield. Another thing that you're looking for here is you need to get this post. In other words, you need to sit down and sight from one side to the other. And you need to make this top part come down in line with this bottom part. Now on this car, I'm going to show you on the other side there. That part in the side there where your jam, I guess you'd call it, would be there. That part is not spotted to that outside skin in that area. So the bottom wants to stick out toward the front of the car just a little bit more than the top part does there. So you'll need to kind of watch for that, but what you're trying to get to do here is right up in this corner where your jam goes up and meets the drip rail. Right up in that corner. You need to get that lined up this way, front to back, with the other side. In other words, get that corner, I'm talking about the bottom, is going to be sticking out this way, and when the top comes down, it's going to be over that way, 3/8 or 7/16 or whatever. But you need to get both of those corners, top part and bottom part, lined up going straight toward that post on the other side. That way you'll know you're getting the top forward on each side to where it's going to have to be. We've got that done, and you can see where our doorposts come down, and it's overlapping about 3/8 of an inch right here. And we need to take just a little bit more off of bottom or top one. But in taking this off, we're just going to take it off where it overlaps, probably about 1/8 of an inch there. That way that'll let that come down, because back here at the back, we're about 1/8 of an inch too high, right in the front there. Like it's about 1/8 of an inch touching. And that part up there on that doorpost is what's keeping us from touching. And also, where we cut this in right here, coming in this way, it is touching over here, so we need to get on the inside on the roof part and trim off just a little bit more back here and out to this point, to where that'll set down when this sets down. But where we came down here and met our top to this door opening, just a little bit too far forward as far as the drip rail is concerned. But if you'll look at this drip rail has got a curve in it right here at the very bottom. Within about the last 2 inches, it makes a curve. So I think I can notch that drip rail a couple of times and cheat just a little enough to straighten it out to where it'll come on down this way, and that'll kick it back that 1/8 of an inch to make that come out right. So we lucked out on that deal. Also, if you'll notice, as we go back from here, this starts to overlap. I knew that would do that, but I didn't want to confuse you to start with, because that's because we went 4 vertical here and 4 windshield up the front. The further back it gets from this point, the more you have to take out. But we can trim that off once we get this sitting even right here. So we're going to do a little more lining up and a little more trimming off of these places that need trimming, to where everything will come down and meet. And we're going to tack our windshield post on each side to where it'll stay where we have it. And we're going to come right back here about where this top comes down behind the drip rail. We're going to tack that. That's when we get everything trimmed down. In case I lost someone there a few minutes ago on this front post, I think I found a little better way here to show you what I was trying to tell you there a second ago. The bottom of this drip rail, where it comes down here, if you'll put it, the thickness of this piece going up and back in, this piece coming around this way, it comes up, and then goes back under the drip rail. If you put the bottom of that drip rail to the outer edge of this thickness of this metal, in other words, move it up, it's, whatever 30 thousandths I think it would be, that way on each side you would have it in the right place. In other words, to have this corner and this corner going straight toward the other post on the other side. And then when you get everything right there, well, I tacked this one out here, tacked it back there. You tack it in a couple of places that you can get to real easy with a Ziz wheel to cut it back in two, because you're going to have to do that here in a little bit. But we went ahead and got that located left to right, same distance on each side of the offset here, and then done just a little trimming back here to make this area come down and meet itself. That's where we got our 4 inches right here. We haven't altered that any. We had to trim off a little bit more back through here, about 3/32, or not hardly 1/8 of an inch, and had to trim it back in here. It was hitting back on this edge on the back side here. And then we come up here, cut just a little notch out of this corner right here on this bottom part, just enough to where that would slip down and not hit there before it come in touch right here. And then we went back, and after we got that touch, we put us a good tack right here. Now don't weld this all the way across and get on the inside, because when we get up in this roof section, start picking up on it, that may need to flex just a little bit. And you don't need to be sucking your quarter in, so this way it can it can close up on this side and get what little bit it needs to move out of it. Now you can see how the roof is going back and coming down too quick here. In other words, if you laid the back window in there, it would come up and it'd be a hump in here. We'll get all into that later on. Right now what we're concerned about is getting the top in place to where we know it's going to be. But you can see what you're in for at this point. If you notice before you cut this car, this grip rail stopped just at the top edge of your trim going back through there. I haven't decided yet whether or not I'm going to cut it up there now and bring the trim all the way to the edge, or if I'm going to start the trim right at the back edge of it and go back. Haven't decided that yet. If I don't cut it off, well, then you're going to have this grip rail sticking down between your two pieces of trim, what's on this and what's on the door. So I may go ahead and trim that off after I get further into it, but we're just going to leave it like that for now. Our next step, we'll come back to the windshield post. Like I mentioned this earlier, we'll go in the center of this radius in here and we'll cut out to here. Now you don't have to cut this all the way into. When you get down to within about a half an inch of this grip rail and get to this corner here, you can stop, because then you can push it over. But you're going to have to take out about 3/16 of an inch here down to nothing out here. So you'll have to take your time and do some good cutting. You could take your scribe scale, make you a couple little straight lines there where you'll know how far you are and what you got to go to get out to them. Now what we're going to do, and we'll get through with that, we're going to come up here in the center of this bend and go back this way. There again, you can stop about a half inch from a grip rail. Stop before you get to this corner here. And I try to come in, there's a little deal up in there just outward of where the sun visor goes. You can feel it, it comes across, and then there'll be a little break and it'll come this way. I usually try to get it right down through the center of that where it comes across and cuts up this way. There's a little edge in there, in other words, a little ridge. It goes this way on that inner part. That makes it easy to weld back together. But we're going to do one of them when we get this cut, top and bottom. We're going to push this one in and pull that one out. You'll have to drive you a screwdriver or something up in this area to spread it apart. When we get that like we want it, we're going to tack this here back. Remember in the beginning when I told you that this grip rail was all but straight. It had maybe just a 1/16 of an inch bow out in it going up this way. We want to keep it looking that way. Also, when you look at it from this angle, it has to be, put your straight edge up here coming down just outside that drop off right there where your rubber goes. That has to be straight. It can't have a hump in it. If it's got a hump in it, that means your glass is going to have a hump in it. And that don't work. In other words, if you have to, take your straight edge and lay on this edge right here where your glass does go. Make sure it's flat. It can't be humped out this way or in and back out. It's got to be a straight line. Got one of our windshield posts notched out and spotted back in place here. I cut out a little bit too much right there. 1/8 of an inch would have been plenty. I want about 3/16. But what you're looking for there is to cut out your little pie piece shape right there, coming out to almost to the grip rail and almost to this corner. And then up here at the top, you're just slicing back through there, and you have to pull it out this way and push this one over this way. Keeping in mind to keep this edge out here with just a slight bow out in the center, just a slight one, just enough that you know it is. And also keeping in mind that it has to be straight this way, because your glass fits in that lip over there, and it has to be right. And when you push this over, push it toward the other side. Don't push it toward the peak of the windshield. That'll all, if you get this right here flat and you get this right here almost straight this way without any hump in it or sucked in, you'll have it right. And also when you go back with it, say this part wants to be a little higher than that part or vice versa, when you put your clamps in here to hold it like you want it, and you get this tacked up here, you can take your vice grips and turn them this way, and that'll make this go high and low right here. That way you can get that to where it butts up real good. Same way up here in the top. If one of them's higher than the other one down through here, put your clamps right here, and you can move your clamps back and forth this way, and that'll pick this up and down right here. Don't worry about the grip rail at this point, because it's probably not going to meet up at all. But I think the first tack I made in this center part was right on this corner. And you need to see that it's right up inside this corner. And just work with it then to make everything butt up. It should fit back straight here. Shouldn't be any highs or lows where it laps over. That's just going to cause you to not be able to grind your wheel down slick, because one side will be higher than the other. It's just going to take more filler. Another thing, when you think you got it like you want it, you look from this peak of the windshield down where that rubber goes all the way down at the bottom and back out. In other words, just sight it up like you're sighting down a gun barrel. And make sure that that is one straight line, not in this way or out that way. Just have to fool with it a little bit. Now, we've got that one tacked. That's as far as we're going with it right now. We're going to come over here and get this one in the same shape that that one's in. Then we can go back over here and weld this one up solid, and then weld this one up solid. And I don't know why, I just always go ahead and grind all these down and slick everything off right here, because that way I'm completely done with the windshield post. Now you'll notice too, on the inside, you can see it from right here. See where that kind of goes up and then it's got like a little corner where that jamb of that windshield post is? When you get it welded out, you can go right back in this way from the outside, take you a little chisel or punch or something and bump that edge, and that'll make that come in a flowing line right there. That'll save you filler in that place. Also, when you come back down, you'll see that this bottom one is wider than the top one. All you have to do is put your tack right here where it starts to roll off, take your body hammer and roll this over to where it rolls just like that one. Then you can trim off your excess with your Ziz wheel or whatever after you get it up there. We want this to look like it was made that way. You'll probably notice too that this slice right here, when you get through, now I don't normally weld all this up at once. I'll weld like a 1/2 inch and I'll come under here and do it. But you're going to wind up with a little dip right in here. In other words, this one's going to go that way and that one's going to come this way. You just have to live with that part of it, because there's no way to get in there to hammer that out and pick it back up to make it right. But there's somewhat of a little dip there just right now, but the slower you weld it, the more you move around, and the cooler you can keep it, the less you'll have that problem. When you get your windshield post welded out, where it goes off in behind the drip rail here, take you like a wide chisel or a screwdriver, stiff putty knife or whatever, and pull this drip rail out away from that post. And make sure you get all the way down in the very bottom of it. Now, when you're welding all this stuff, or after you get it well, you'll see that your drip rail is pulled together. It'll also have a hump in it. It'll come up and then it'll go back. Just take your Zia's wheel and slice through that drip rail, just the thickness of the wheel. You can take your block of wood, set right here on this one, set on this one, and bump it back down and get that a flowing line in that drip rail. And then you can adjust it back in to make sure you have the same width in your drip rail as you go up. But I always spread that back where I can get way down in there. We don't want any leaks running down in that post and getting in your floor. And then take your little die grinder and grind those welds back while you've got it out. And then position your drip rail like you want it and weld it up. Now, in case somebody thinks this up here is not enough to worry about cutting, I'll just spread it out between this end and that end of the post, spread it out this way. I don't recommend that because when you spread that out, you see this hump in this windshield opening in the center there where it comes up and back down. When you spread this out, you're going to suck that point down that way. And what you're going to wind up doing is this windshield post is not going to be the same slant going back as that center bar is. In other words, your glass is going to have to twist as it goes toward that center section right there. And that don't work. You'll be busting windshield. If it don't bust getting it in there, sitting out in the hot sun, you throwing cold water on it or whatever to wash it, it'll bust later on down the road. Don't force anything, because when you start forcing it and pushing on it, you're going to damage something else somewhere. We've got our windshield post welded up, ground back down. I don't do any filler work or any finish work. I just ground the welds and sanded it and put some Krylon spray paint on there to keep it from rusting until the body man gets to it. But you just work with it, push it, pull it, twist it, whatever, it'll all come back together and everything will meet up all right. Our next step here is to get our doorpost straightened up here. And I went ahead and marked off a few things and put some more braces in. You're going to be cutting a section out right here and moving it back. And then when you move it back, you're going to have to add some in front of it. You're going to have to take a little out in the back side of it. I went ahead and laid out this other side. Give you an idea of what we're talking about here. But about, I've got this laid out about 2.5 inches in front of where this corner comes around and joins in the seam there. And in the back here about 1 inch back from where it joins in the seam. This one up here gets a little bit taller as it comes back. But I don't think it's going to be much difference in it to where it's really going to show up. Of course, the door's going to be shut up on it anyway, but just don't like a big lump in something when you open the door up and look at it. But you can see where I've squared it up to the drip rail, going straight into the top, not this way or that way. And I went up 4.5 inches from the top of the drip rail to my cut line, same way back here. And that way I got me a straight line through here, because when you move this back, you want this line up here just to slide back. You don't want it to get a gap or a lap over or whatever. So you need to keep it parallel with your drip rail as far as the distance up in the roof. I've also got this amount back here marked off as to how much we're going to take out right here. That's the same distance that it is from the back of this part to the back of this part on your post right there. And then before you do any cutting here, you need to go ahead and put some braces in, because once you cut this, you don't want this part doing this, and you don't want it to sag. So I've gone in, put a couple of crossbars across just behind of where I'm going to be cutting and just ahead of where I'm going to be cutting. In other words, the bars will stay with the car when I take this section out here. And also on each side, you can see where I've come from the bar down to the floor to support the dropping of everything. I don't like to bring these bars straight down. I'm talking about if you're looking at the back of the car or the front of the car, I don't like to bring them straight down this way, because it's too easy to get them to do this. If you slant them, then it's harder for it to do that, because if you push over, it's got to pick it up. And that's kind of making it harder to do that. Now, I don't think that you're going to be able to take this piece and put it up here. You can take the drip rail and the piece out of the top and go up here, but this door jamb, this part in here between the drip rail and the opening, is thicker in the front part than it is back here. Now, that's going to vary from car to car, so you'll just have to see what you can do there. You may have to separate it, because where the top comes down and meets the bottom part may be off in and out a little bit to where that won't line up right. But you may have to just fab each piece and put each piece in as you go. It's going to take some time right here, but I have seen magazine articles where people are going under this drip rail with an air chisel, separate all that. But it looks like to me you're going to stretch and pull and tear up a lot of stuff trying to do that. I'd like to keep everything as comfortable as possible here as far as getting something out of line. Now, you can tell the top part of our post there is in compared to this bottom part sticking up. Just kind of make a note of where that bottom part comes to in and out on this bottom, and keep it the same way when you put it back in there, because we're going to have to go on the bottom part of this post and notch it from the back side out to the front skin and lean it over a little bit, because that needs to be a flowing line. I'm not saying it's got to be straight. It had just a little bit of a curve in it to start with, but we want to keep that like it was and not have a hump in it, so to speak. So just kind of keep that in mind as you work with this. We've got our piece cut out here and got our section taken out there at the back to even up our post where it meets right here. It may be that I can use the skin part, the drip rail part, and the part on the inside that your headliner hooks to, but that door jamb part under there, I'm going to have to refab, because it's a little bit wider than what this piece is here at the back. And you can see when you get this down here, by the top being cut vertically more in the back than it is the front, the drip rail is going to set a little high right here and a little low up here. And two, I think we need to take out just a little bit more in this post. But before we cut any more out of that post, right at the belt line, I'm talking about if you're looking at the door, it'll be right in this area right here, right below your belt line stainless trim that goes on there. We're going to notch this post. Now we're going to go, I think we can go on the two front and back part and then the back end of it back here, and not have to cut this front side to push that post over. If we have to cut it all the way to that little bead going through there, we will. But before I cut it, I'm going to take my tape and pull from a point on the other doorpost over there to the outside tip of this one. I think pushing this top over about 1/4 of an inch will take care of getting this line right this way. Now, it had a slight curve to it to begin with before we cut it down. And what we want to do is get that curve back. In other words, you can set it up there and line up your drip rail in a straight line this way, and you can see your flowing line of that post coming out where your door is going to fit up against it there. You don't want it to hump in, or you don't want it to dip in. Just get you a good flowing line, and then of course we may have to, you know, we tack this now to just make sure it stays where we put it, but don't weld it up yet. Just work with it till you get everything lined up here. And like I say, this piece here is actually going to have to tilt this way just somewhat. So we're going to have to take off a little bit more on the back side of this post. I'm talking about the rear toward the back of the car. And that at the same time, that'll kick the front up and that'll lower the back. But now, I wouldn't go, if you think it's going to take 1/4, I wouldn't go but 1/8. Because you can mess around here and get it too much. That's the reason I'm going to slice this here first and lean that bottom part of that post over, and then we can tell more about what our height is there. We went ahead and notched this area right here. I'd say about 1/8 of an inch would be plenty on the back side, and then just ziz it out to thin as you can get it on the front side here. And what we wound up doing, we pulled our tape from a point on the other side over there, measuring tape I'm talking about, from there over to this point right here. And what we did, we pushed this over 1/4 of an inch toward the middle of the car from what it was to begin with, and put a couple of tacks back here. Now I got that over to where you can look down it, or you can look from a side, and you can see where that post has got a flowing line with just a slight curve in it. We'll make it look like it was our way to start with, not have a hump in it or have it sucked in at this point. And I set this part back on top of it, and I was still a little bit high, but only on the back side. It was a little bit low on the front, a little bit high on the back. So I went in here and I went from about 90 thousandths, or 3/32, let me put it that way, 3/32 across here, and then from that point up to the front, I just faded out to nothing. Same way on the back edge back here. Didn't take any off of this front side. Now we've got it the right height, because the drip rail is lining up, and you can stand at the front and look at this drip rail and it lines up. Our problem is now we need to tack off about another 1/16 of an inch or so right up here. Now you can see where this edge is just a little bit ahead, and this one's almost flush. So we'll need to get us about a 1/16 of an inch off of this end to slide it back to where it'll be right. I can take this post and push it that way and make it right, but that's having to push it in a direction that we shouldn't have to force it that way. We've taken out about another 3/32 right in here and got it scooted back to where it lines up good on this post. Now you can, this outer part, you can squeeze the top and push out on the bottom. You can get that line back up okay. If you're not satisfied with, say, this corner here, you can slice up into here about 1 1/4 inches. The width of your cutoff wheel, push that in, and that'll line this outside corner back up too. And you can see right up here, this piece here between the seam and where you cut it is just a little bit taller. what you can do there is just take your little Ziz wheel, slice it along that corner right there, inside and outside, and just push it back together, and that should make this right here line up just right. I can also notice here that when we cut this extra little 3/32 off right here, that opened this gap up somewhat. So if we use that piece we cut out back here, it's going to be a gap in it. How much, I'm not sure. I hadn't put it in there, but if it gets to be too big, well then we'll just have to fab that whole section right there, using the drip rail, of course, that we took out up here. Now, to make this come out right in the front door opening, hope you can see this, it's, sorry about that, where this back part comes together with the drip rail, you can see that this drip rail is just a slight lower than that one. It's probably not a 1/16 of an inch. But when you get to looking at it, if you butt it right up to each other, it's like a peak in there. About where that is, that's where we took that piece out. Instead of it being a flowing line, it kind of comes to a peak. So we can let this down just a little bit in our center section and then bump this drip rail down to meet it. And that'll take care of that peak in there. And now that we had to go have to do that to make this right here not completely straight. You need to be able to look at it from back to front and see just a little bit of an arch up right in this area where you're going to be welding. And then too here, before you start welding anything, get all this old sealer out from up in here where everything goes together. Get it back an inch or so away from where you're going to be welding, so when you start welding, it won't melt and run back into where you're going to be welding there. Make sure everything's all cleaned up. You may know if you've got a sharp enough eye, just like this bead going up through here between your doors. It may look like it's beginning to bend back just a little bit, which it is if you can see that. But I wouldn't worry about that. You can blend off your filler as you come down. 1/16 of an inch of filler will do wonders right there. Fella don't like a 1/16 of an inch of filler to make it perfect. Well, he don't need to be in this kind of business. So what we're going to do next here is we're going to clean all those corners off. We're going to tack this thing. Tack it on each side here and down around this right here about 4 times. And just let that stay there, making sure that this is in a line right here. If you want to, you can take your little piece of angle iron about yay long, clamp it here and clamp it here. That way you know that this is in and out to meet this. And then you can go ahead and fab this piece coming from inside around up to your drip rail. I would do that first, and that way it'll be in there like it's going to be. Got our piece tacked back in. Doorpost lines up there pretty good. Got all this tacked in down through here, and I only tacked about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the beginning. And if you'll take your hammer and dolly right after you tack them, put your dolly right under that and your hammer and hit it about 3 licks. What this will do is it'll try to draw together. You tap that about 2 or 3 licks with your hammer and dolly, it'll kind of brad that well and spread your gap back apart. Because you remember you had a saw cut left there when you got through cutting it. We'll keep that in there as much as possible. Went ahead and fabbed this piece right here to go down in there. And then took our drip rail and put it back. Now there's a little gap there in the drip rail, almost 1/8 of an inch on each end. That way I can stick my wire right through there and get that top skin right down in the bottom there. Of course we've got to fab the top piece yet and put it in, but you get all of this welded you possibly can. because you don't want this thing to bust apart if it should ever roll over. We hope not. And you can see where I sliced in this corner right here, on the inside and outside, to make this come up flush. This worked out pretty well right here, coming straight back. I did all this out of 18 gauge. The car is out of 20 gauge, which that's a little thinner than 18. But 18 just works so much better. It welds so much better. Well, we're going to go ahead and weld this up a little better down in here, and then fab our piece to go in here and tack it. Now you've got to notice when you tack this, you can't hammer down in this bottom part. Once you get up a couple inches from this, you can take a punch in a hammer and hammer it somewhat. So the less you weld at one time, skip around at least 3 inches apart, the better this is going to be. If you just go in there and you weld this whole thing in at one time, this right up through here is going to lose some of the curve. It's going to flatten out. And if you go down through here all at one time, now I'll probably go down through here all at one time, but I'll weld like an inch or inch and a half, and then I'll take my dolly onto the bottom while it's still red and pick it up. Because any of this right here, what you're dealing with, 95% of it is going to be shrinkage. So you need to pick it back up and stretch it just a little while it's hot. That way when it cools, it'll go back down like it should be. But everything's looking real good so far. We've got our doorpost area there put in, welded up, everything ground down. You have to keep checking yourself all the way through this. You need to get back and look at your drip rail. Make sure it's got the same contour all the way up through there. Don't have any ups and downs and flat places in it. Check it, to make sure it's out far enough at the front and back. This is why you're tacking everything in now. Also, when you start welding, you need to squat down and look up right here. Make sure your outline is right. Don't let it be sucked down. Now when I welded this, I welded these up first. Of course, I had these tacked about an inch apart and hammered them just a little bit from under the bottom to spread that crack just a little bit there to keep it from completely pulling together from the spot weld. And then I got inside and welded back over this way to get right down in the corner where the roof comes down in behind the drip rail. You just have to do that without a hood on and get it positioned, hold it with both hands and close your eyes while you spot it. You don't want any leaks in there. Then too, after you get through there, you might take some of the old seam sealer and put in there to make sure you don't have any leaks to get in there. And when I was welding these up, I'd weld about an inch. I took me a punch, had about 3/8 end on it that I stuck up against my weld, and I'd hit that punch with my hammer. Just go back and forth there while it's still red if you can get in there that quick. That way, what you'll be doing is stretching it just a little bit, and when it cools, it'll go back down like it's supposed to be. But don't hammer it to where you break your weld. You just have to keep fooling with it and make sure you've got everything butted, not overlapped or one side higher than the other. I've noticed a little deal here since we've got it to where we could close the door. We had to kind of cock this thing this way just a little bit to make this and this drip rail part line up just right. Well, we're getting a little bit tight right in here with our door jamb right now, so when we finish out this frame here, we may have to cock this back just enough to where we know it won't touch in there. The front one shouldn't be any problem. In fact, it might be a little wider, but I don't think it's going to be wide enough that it's going to hurt anything. It's about a 1/4 of an inch in there right now, so that should be fine. Well, I've got one side done, spent about 9 hours over here, so that'll give you an idea of what you're looking at per side. I'm not in any hurry, but just thought you might want to know that. And no, it's not ready for filler. It still needs a little bit of filler to get everything just so-so. We've got our doorpost section put back in on the other side. It didn't work out exactly like the other side. On the other side, we had to shorten this post just a little bit. On this one, after I got it pushed over, it was the right height. I just had to cock it a little bit to get it lined up this way right. And then the piece I put in there where I scooted it back was about a 1/16 of an inch bigger than it was on the other side. That's just the way it worked out. I reckon everything seems to be right. Didn't take as long on this side because I had down pretty pat what I was going to do and procedure in doing it. When you're welding up this in here, get it tacked. I know I had this one tacked about 4 times here, and come up here and put this piece in, or made it and tacked it in on the top, on the front side of my piece I put in. And when I tried to pick this up through here to get it right, it wasn't exactly right, so I had to knock a couple of these spot welds loose here to let it kind of shift. It was wanting to hump up in here and suck down in there, so you'll just have to work with it to get it like you want it there. Take it loose and put it back to make sure it does like you want it, and when you weld this up, make sure it's all welded up solid. You can see any pinholes in there when you look up, or show a light from on the bottom and look down through there. Weld up those pinholes, because that's just a place for moisture to get behind your filler and make it bubble up. Our next deal in line here, before I do that though, I noticed one thing here, kind of something for you to kind of go by. You see the drip rail coming down at the back of the door there. If you'll squat down, if that doorpost, the center doorpost, if it's following the edge of that drip rail here behind the door on both sides, I'd say that'd be a pretty good guide you can go by to see that you've got it straight on there. Now I do notice here that I can stand in the center of the car and come up like this and make my top of my opening here disappear at the bottom corners of the windshield. This side's just a little bit higher, but you can take your hand and put right there and push just a little bit, and that'll level it out, so I don't think we'll have anything to worry about right there. It may be that when we slice this roof up through here like we're going to have to, we're going to have to slice it, say from this corner up through here about 3 times. Pretty good distance on the first one, and a little less on the second one, a little less on the third one. It may be that when we put our piece back in there to fill that opening, it's going to be a little wider on this side than it is the other side. But we'll just have to do whatever it takes to get the window back in there. Now, I'm putting a 50 window back in it. It's more of a rounded back window than the 51 is. You can do it with the 51. I'm not saying you can't do that, but it has a lot to do with where you position it. We're going to move this window forward 2 or 3, 4 inches, whatever it takes from the trunk lid to make it look good. And of course the 51's got this corner down in here, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to be laying that window down this way. And of course the top's got to come back and give us a good flowing line in there. So you want, if you're using the 51, you want to keep the corner of that 51 window out of this molding going through there. Even the molding on the bottom of the 51 window, you want to keep it out of this molding going through here. So you just have to position it and play with it. But I wouldn't go any more than 4 inches and try to get the 51 window back in there. We've got us a 50 model back window opening and roof section here. This one came from a 2-door. Hopefully there'll be enough metal here to do it all without adding a piece, but I don't know. May have to add a piece right in that corner right there. I know we're going to have to add some across the back, but we'll just have to get it cut out here and see what happens. Now, if you're using the same window that came in the car, before you do any cutting to get this section out of the car here, you need to brace it up. I got one going left to right here, about halfway of the window opening up and down, and I got right in the center, and you line it up with the front edge of your package tray. Now, the reason you're doing this is you want it, when you're looking at the car from the back, sitting in the deck lid opening, you want this side to be as high as this side when you're looking toward the windshield opening. In other words, when you line this tube up here with the bottom of your windshield opening, we're talking about in this corner, you want it to be right. You don't want it to be higher than the other. And I also got 2 pieces going this way, up and down, in the back window opening. I just more or less square those to the support going across. In other words, you're trying to equal your window in about 3 different sections there. And then when you put these in, make sure you put them as high and low one side to the other. And I'll back up again here. When you set this thing down in the floor, if you're adding a different back window, you make sure that it's sitting right, not twisted on one end or the other. And you're going to be using this as a reference too. When you get this up in the car and you're trying to locate it in there, you're going to look across these 2 pieces right here. And you want them both going parallel. You don't want one up that way and one down this way. You want them straight, even with each other. All that has to do with getting everything lined up right. And what we're going to do here is we're going to cut this out right along this little belt line corner around through there, all the way around. And we're going to cut it out right up next to the drip rail on the front end. And of course we're going to cut some across the top of it too, because there's too much there. But we'll have to get it up in the car to see what we're going to start trimming off of that. Now, we're just package tray, we're going to leave it laying here, and where the trunk lid attaches, we're going to leave it laying here. Almost forgot something here. On this section here, I pulled my tape from right where that comes down over to the other side, found my center line. And I did it in a couple of places here. I went from this point across, found my center line. I went from here, making sure this was cut. It wasn't cut in the same distance that one was, but there's a headliner bracket in there. Went by that, from where the drip rail goes on over to the other side. Found the center there. And when I pulled me a straight edge, put me a straight edge up there, this line, and the one on the top all lined up. So that made me feel pretty sure that I had the center of it. Cut me a good scribe line up through there, because you want to take that and line it up with the center mark you put on your roof up here. Of course, if you're using the same back window, you did that in the beginning there. Now we've got our back window section just setting up in the car there, and you can see that like's a good bit fitting in the way we want it to. And I've got 2.5 inches of space right here. This one's cut out just like the 51 was, right around through that little groove around there. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to move it that far forward or maybe move it a little more forward. We'll have to get the top on down get it laying on down to meet the roof a little better to see what it all looks like. But we're going to take into consideration what it looks like between the window and the deck lid opening, consideration on how much space is between that window and this back door window. We don't want it to get like it's too long in there, but at the same time we don't want any bald heads to get sunburnt or somebody sitting in the back seat. But that just gives you an idea of what you're looking at. Now you can see where this is sitting right on the car right here on both sides. We'll have to trim a little bit of that off and fade it out to nothing as we get back here about, say, a foot back. But we'll do that the same on each side. We'll measure up like an inch, go back a foot and take that off. I mean, go back a foot to nothing I'm talking about. We'll do the same on both sides till we get it down to where we're satisfied it's going to be right and not have a gap in here to have to put a little filler piece in. We do have enough metal here to get everything without adding a piece. Of course, I may come in here and cut this off like an inch back and come up and then get some of this corner off of here so it won't be such a curve in that well seam there. And of course, we're going to shorten this up here, cut it closer back to the window opening, and just looking at it from this point, our roof itself, we're probably going to cut off about an inch of the roof across there, because we've got to get our seam away from this brace inside this back window. Say an 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches in front of it, so we'll have room to get up under and hammer it. Of course, out in the center, going straight across, it's going to be further than that from the back window opening. And of course, there's going to have to be a lot of, we'll have to cut some relief cuts around through here, 4 or 5 on each side, 3 or 4 or 5 on each side, because this is all right in here. You can see where it's got to come up. And of course, we've got to put a filler piece of metal in there too. But I'll try my best to guide you through that as we go along here. Once you have gotten the back window section out, whether it be the one that one you took out or the one you're going to put back in, you need to take your 2x4 and stick it up in that back window above that rear opening there, right in front of your back window brace up here I'm talking about, going across the roof. And you need to cut that 2x4, that contour. Now, it don't have to go all the way over. This one here, I'll measure it and then I'll set the window out here and I'll show you more what I'm talking about. Now our template 2x4 across there is 46 inches across the rounded side, and this top is not really fitting it. Of course, it's not on the car. I usually make this before I ever do any cutting. I'll take a piece of cardboard and stick up in there and pencil it off and use scissors and all till I get it right. Then I'll transfer that to a 2x4. But I kind of feel like this roof section came off of a car with the roof, it was caved in. And it looks like it might have been upside down from the looks of the bottom side of this back window section. But what you want to do is get that to fit the car either now or you can do it before you ever start cutting the back window out. Because when we put that back on there, we're going to take this back window section and stick it in under the roof. Then we're going to take that 2x4 and go under there where they lap over and put our jack in the floor and start jacking up. That'll raise all that up like we want it. Now, we're not going to leave it overlapped. But what we're going to do before we do all that is we're going to have to cut some relief cuts up in this roof. We'll probably have to go about 20, 24 inches on each side here, the first cut, Then we'll drop over about 7, 8 inches, and we'll go up again, not hardly as far. Then we may go up with a third cut on each side. That'll let all this pick up, and when it picks up, it's going to spread like so. That'll keep everything flowing. But this template that we put in there and the jack we put on it, we can jack it up, stand back and look at it. You think you got it right, go up a little bit too much. Go up to where you know it's too high, and then start easing your way back down to where you can get it right. We'll get deeper into that as we go, but just explaining it to you here at the beginning. Well, my guess was right on my roof contour there. I took the 2x4 piece there to the 51 back window that I took out, and just ahead of the brace in the back window there, it fit the roof just perfect. So after I got to looking at this one real close, it had like a popped in place right in here. And I took the back glass and laid it up in the opening. The glass fit the opening all the way around except right across the top. It was about 3/8 of an inch from touching up in the center there. So I laid it upside down in the floor and put me a 4x4 block on each side. Got up in it right here with my feet and just kind of sprung up and down, taking it up and checking it a few times with the glass till I got it right. Still wanted to fight me a little bit there, so I called Mr. Merc, got him to measure me one still in the car, the opening at the widest point from this side to that side. And this one was about 1/8 of an inch too big. So I cut my one end of my bar back out there and shortened it that much and pushed it back together and tacked it again. So if you're using a different back window and you're not sure about it, you might ought to take those measurements and see how your glass fits it. By the way, this widest point from here over to there, straight through, is 52.5 inches, if you're going to double check one. Now I went ahead and cut some of this off up here at the top. Of course, it's still too much there, but I just got some of that excess out of the way. I cut about 4 inches of it off and went ahead and made some marks here. On our roof section, I'll say this: if you're going to use the same back window that came out of the car, you need to leave you an inch or so above that brace that goes underneath that top right there. Leave you about an inch or so ahead of it. And the reason for, when you get to hammering this, you need that room to get your dolly and hammer in there to work your metal. On this car, I cut it close to the back window to start with, just to make sure I had enough metal. Now I've got it marked off here. We're going to take about 1.5 inches off of the back of this roof across there, all the way across. So because, see, we're going to put this part underneath the roof, and that's going to come down so far. When we cut it through here, we're going to get back in this brace, so we want to keep it out from under that brace across there. Now I may have to go back and trim some more. I'm just shooting for that to see where I come out at. And I like to cut this thing. I'm even going to take off a little bit right up through here on the car. And then I'm going to slice this roof up through here. I like to slice this inward, like 1/2 inch or so from this corner coming up from here. Right here we've got about 3/4 of an inch. It just seems to work better that way. I'll go over it with you and give you some measurements you can kind of go by. I'm not saying you have to follow these exactly. The main thing is just keep it uniform from side to side. That's what you're shooting for. Now this first mark I have from the back opening, I hadn't cut anything off, but from the back opening I came up 24 inches, 4.5 inches from the drip rail at the top of it, going down 1/2 or 3/4 inches over in the part that goes that way, just away from the corner in there. I moved over 6.5 inches. I laid out me a cut mark 20 inches long. Then I moved over 7 inches. It made me a cut mark 15 inches long. I did that on each side. Now, I'm not sure that that's going to be perfect. I feel like it is, but it may be we'll have to take another couple of inches out. But I'd rather cut out a couple of inches too much to start with is has to go back up there and redo it again. The reason you're doing this is you're going to have to pick the car top up, and when you pick it up, it's going to spread. And you have to have some relief in there for it to spread open and come up. I went ahead also here and made some relief cuts, or going to make some relief cuts in this back window area. Now this is regardless whether you use a 50 or 51, it'll all be the same. Of course, this is our center line up through here. That's our center line. I came off 8.5 inches from each side, made me a cut there. We're going to have to cut that up to the opening. Okay, I moved over another 12, put me another one. I moved over 6, put me another one. Moved over another 6, put me another one. Went 5.5, done me another one. And then right up in here, just right before you start going straight across, you'll need to make you another one. Now what you're going to be doing, we're going to position this back window in there kind of like so here. I get me a block of wood under there I forgot to put under there. What we're going to be doing is picking this edge up to where it's a flowing line. It's not straight. It's going to have a little bit of concave to it going into here. If you put a straight line from this point to the deck lid, you're going to have a corner right here where the metal meets your back window. There's going to be a corner. If that's what you like, fine. But I like to have it a little bit concave in there. That's why the slices are around here. But you can still see that we're going to have to trim some off in this area to let that back window section lay on down some more. In the beginning, we'll tuck the corner of this back window opening down inside there, rather than setting up on that quarter line like it is. We'll drop it off inside there. And if it gets in the way back here where we can't do that, then we'll trim off, like I say, the same amount on each side up from this corner and fade it away until we get it in there. But I'd like to try to get it to where we wouldn't have to add a piece right in here. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. And then also I'll probably make this line here, start back in here and make this more of a straighter line instead of a sharp bend like it is here now. I'm going to take it back out and make all these cuts, all these relief cuts back here, and then we'll set it back up in there. May have to do a little of this trimming right down here. We're going to stick the back window area underneath the roof and push up on it. We've got our slots cut everywhere here. Our roof slice, got all of our edges ground back. And just got this window just laid up in there to kind of give you an idea of what's what. Where this back window section came around in this corner, I took off 1.25 inches at the front edge, got the little piece laying up there, and went back to nothing in a distance of about 7 inches. And it looks like, to me, at this point, we're still a little high at this point, and this up here is a little high. So I'm going to take it back out, and I'm going to take another 1/4 inch off at this area and go back about, say, 10 inches back out to nothing. That'll let this down just a little and this down just a little. Now I'll tell you something that I think a lot of people mess up on right here. Let me get me a straight edge and I'll show you something. The back window, both 50 and 51, I can't say for sure about a 49. But I do know a 50 and a 51 back window, the glass, has got a bubble in it from top to bottom, about a 5/8 of an inch bubble. And if you put this back window opening in the car, now this is a 3-foot straight edge, just a 3-foot aluminum yardstick. If you put this back window opening in that car in line with the roof, you're going to end up with a dip right at the top of your back window. And what it's going to do, the bubble in that glass is going to come up and go down. And this is going to go away and you're going to end up with a dip right where your glass meets your roof. You don't want that. This one is still just a little bit, the straight edge is a little bit too high up here at the front. That's why we're going to take this 1/4 inch out right in here, let that whole back window section down just a little bit, both here and up here. Maybe a little more so up here than back here. And if that 1/4 inch I take out right in here is not enough, then we'll go back and get a little bit more. But you can begin to see now how these are spreading. Each one is spread open there. And you can see in here where we're going to have to pull this out to meet. That's why we've got the slots in here. Now, this area right in here is pushed in hard. We're probably going to come in here and slice this down through here so we can open this up as we pull it out. We'll just have to work with it here. See, I don't even have my contoured piece in there. It's just rested on this corner right here where it's touching inside there. And I push down on this back, on the back part, that raised the front up under the roof. I just put a couple of clamps on it. So this is just a rough look for now to get you an idea of what you're shooting for. I've taken the back window section out there and cut off another 1/4 inch right in this area where it's coming down and touching just inside where the 1/4 meets the back of the car there. Now, I've worked with this thing and measured it and checked it out as far as left to right and up and down and slanted it and whatsoever. You remember in the beginning, before we ever cut the top off the car, I showed you that if you stood in the back of the car in the center and you looked at the back window opening and come up until it disappeared at the corner of the windshield opening, this side was about a 1/2 inch higher than this side. Well, it's still wanting to be that way as far as getting our back window section located in there and have all of our slices with an equal amount of space spread open. But I don't want to make this side higher like it was before. I want it to be right. And what that amounts to is this slot on the outside over here, coming back. This one is about 9/16 to 5/8. This one over here is about 7/8 to 15/16 over here. And that's what it's going to take to make it in there right. I've got it centered by my center line left to right. I've got everything disappearing at the top of the windshield, the bottom of the windshield open and the top of this. You can squat down and make the bottom line up the same. You can get over to the side, and both of these bars I've got going this way and this back window opening, both of those are parallel to each other. And outside of this gap here being wider than the one on the other side, everything is going back and measuring out right. Now I've got a 3-foot yellow yardstick laying up a 3-foot yellow yardstick laying up in the back window opening. Now it's just a straight line. It don't have a bubble in it like your window will have. But 12 inches from the edge of that window opening to the end of that yardstick there, the yardstick is 1.25 inches above the roof. You don't want that yardstick to lay flat on the roof. So 12 inches from that opening up to the end of that yardstick, you've got 1.25 inches space there, up at the top. I'm talking about right there. Because that window's going to have a bubble in it, and you want that top to be a flowing line all the way back. And then that straight edge right there, if you look at the bottom end of that yardstick, it's touching this panel right here at the edge, and it's touching that back window opening right there. So that's how high you put the bottom of it. Now what we're going to do first here, let me back up just a second. I had to go back and slice this right here. After I took the back window out, I also took another 1/4 inch off down here, and I had to go up in here about 1 foot back from the front of this slice and come down in here. Now the one on the other side is doing fine, but the one on this side is still wanting to resist me right here. Right there, still wanting to resist. So I'm going to come back up here about halfway between the end of our slice and here, and I'm going to slice it again right here. That way we don't have to force anything to make it come in there right. But now the first thing we're going to do here as far as welding goes, we're going to take us a clamp, and we're going to clamp this up here about 5 or 6 times with 5 clamps. I'm talking like vice grip clamps. I'm going to tack this from here across to this other. It's back up there. I'm going to tack it across the center from this shortest slice, one to the other. Overlap. Just going to tack it about every 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches apart. When you do that, you can start pushing on this right here and this right here to make these butt up. You don't want one higher than the other. But you fix them to where whichever one is right with the flow, you pick the other one up to it. It'll still be touching here. You're just putting more bow to it. You make that butt up, and then you tack this on over to here, to your big slice. Do that on each side. That'll get your roof flow the way you want it. Because doing all this clamping is not going to affect this down here. It'll stay where it's at. Once we get that done, we need to continue welding this on back to here. That's where our top itself comes to. We need to pull that out and get that right. And once we get that done, we're going to take us some, like 2x2s or whatever, stick up under from the floorboard up and push this area up to where it's buttoned up with this. Won't butt it, it'll be in the same line. We're going to pick this out here. Then we'll continue to tack it on down through here on each side. When we get that done, we'll start clamping this right here and pull it together and tack it. We'll do that as far back as it'll overlap. Now once we get that done, we've got it where it's going to be. It's not going to move, but we're still not going to take our support out of the center. I better back up here and show you the inside where I've got it jacked up there. I got my contoured piece up in there, and you can use a porta-power or whatever. This is a porta-power extension, and I just got that round end welded onto a little small jack. It's a lot easier to get in there and not trip over the hoses and all that stuff than it would be to use a porta-power. And make sure this is in the center, left to right. So you get an idea. That there is just to make it sit flat on the floor where it won't slide around off of some hump or something. Well, that'll give you an idea. I'll stop when I get that done and let you have another look-see at it there. We've got this center section here spotted across there. Just remember to make these line up as you go. One as high as the other one. I took a little piece of, little strip of aluminum, 1/8 of an inch thick, about 1 inch wide, and about 1 foot long, like so. Put up there with that crack, you know, in the center of it, and just took me a 2x2, wedged it from the bottom up to the top, and just put a little bit of a bow in it, and made sure I got both of them even when I tacked each piece back here at the back, because the high and low of this makes this go back this way on back here, so just make sure you get everything right there. And I came over to, got both of these seams here back to this point on each side. We can do all this once we get everything else tacked in, because this area right in here you're going to be pushing out at an angle. And when we got that done, we got in here, and this is overlap now. All this back through here is overlap. We tacked it about every inch. Just, you know, I think I started with this piece here first, pulled it out with a clamp, went over yonder and done the other side the same way. Then just tacked it. You may have to move your clamp back and forth as you get these two, move it back here and get two more. And then I just kept switching sides till I got both of these pulled out here. That has got both up and down up here, and got the side to side here. So we've got two deals taken care of right there. Now what we're going to do next here, these are some pieces of 1.5 inches by 1/4 inch flat bar, 10 inches long, and you have them rolled to where there's 1/4 inch arch in the center of them. When you lay them down on the table upside down, there'll be 1/4 inch in the center. And you put them on there where it'll be a concave curve here. Now we're going to take that, we're going to take us a piece of 18 gauge metal. And we're going to cut a piece that'll go from about where this hinge is over to this hinge. We're going to cut it about 1/2 inch too big for that space across there. We're going to slip it up in under there, take our clamps and clamp the metal and this together. When we do that, that'll pull this metal up to this concave piece. When we do that across there, we'll take us a scribe off our piece of metal, cut it that size, and put it back in there again. We'll have to put us a little piece of metal, underneath here to where to come out on each side, and sandwich our filler piece in between that piece of metal and this piece of metal. We get that up there right and get it looking good, we'll tack it in about every 1.5 inches across there. And when we get that done, we'll take these off. We'll cut us a piece to go in here and do it the same way. We'll have all this across here. It won't be overlapped. It'll just be butted up and tacked. We'll do that, and then we'll show you what it looks like when we're through with it. Now don't forget, the whole time that you're doing this, you keep walking around, you keep looking at it, different angles. Make sure you got a good flowing line anywhere you want to look at it from. One side's not higher than the other. Just keep looking at it. Look like over here, look at the slant of that. Look at the slant of this going out. Just make sure everything's the same. You got to stand in the center of the car to do it. We've got our filler piece up in under there, lapped over, and clamped down in place. And you can see how we've got a contour going from the back window, slightly concave going into the deck lid, one flowing line, no corners. Now what we're going to do here, we're going to scribe this off. You can fill in between your pieces here after you get it back out of the car, but we're going to scribe this off, and we're going to cut this piece to fit in there buddied up to each edge. We don't want it overlapped. You may say, well, why not? Same way up here. We're going to cut that out and butt it. If you've ever been to a car show before, you see a top that's been chopped. It's out in the hot sun. You go to looking at it, you see a little like a little blister going all the way across that top. See exactly where they welded it. That's because they overlapped it. Where that weld is, you got twice the thickness of metal as you do out here in this other area, and that thicker metal is reacting to that heat more so than the thin metal is. And that's where you get that little line across there. Don't want that. Now, if this is off so bad up here, you got to put a ½ inch of filler in it to make it right. No, it's not going to show up. But hopefully we're going to get it closer than that. Got this piece across the bottom here in the center, put back in, buddied up after we marked it off there and cut it, put it back in. You need to leave yourself, what I usually do is I'll cut one on the line, like one side on the line, and on the other I'll cut it inside the line. That way that'll give you a little bit of a free play there to kind of maneuver it in there when you clamp it all back in. And when I clamped it in, I put me a piece in the center, right here, and right here. 5 of them across there. Then I tacked on each side. I'd skip here, over here, back and forth not to get anything hot. When I got that done, I took this loose, and then I put 4 in there. I put one between the ones I put in the first step. And then when I tacked them in, these first 5 that I did sucked these first 3, this one, and this one over here, they sucked in. So I had to go back and cut my spot welds and reclamp them again with my metal there and tack them the second time to get them. In other words, it was kind of like this across there, and the ones that sucked down, I had to cut the spot welds loose and reclamp them again and tack them again. And when I did that, they wanted to be just a little bit high. But then I took my hammer and just hit those spot welds on the ones that was too straight, didn't have a dip in it. That got everything in a flowing line. You need to squat down and look at it from this angle to make sure it's not, this way as it goes across there. Also, all up in that roof there, while you're doing all this lining up and checking it out, you need to look at it from all angles. Squat down and get your overall contour of the roof there, everything in a flowing line. And we're going to go ahead and fill in this here on each side just like we did that. Stick us a piece in there and clamp everything up, scribe it off. I'm talking about up from on the bottom. Then take it out and cut it, and then put it back in there and butt it up. Now, when we weld this up across here, it is a very long, tedious procedure. You'll just have to tack it. What I'll start doing once I get this over here in and get it tacked like this, I'll come in, I'll put me a spot like here. I'll go over to here, going back and forth. You spot it about every 4 inches apart, just a spot. Don't try to weld 3 or 4 spots, just a spot. And it'll take you half a day probably just going back and forth. You start over there, you come over here. If you can go over here and it's room temperature, then you can do it again. Just keep doing it, get your procedure up, and just start working your spots closer together. You cannot work this, you can't hammer it. And if you just weld it up across there, or if you try to weld too much at each spot, this is going to suck down in there. Because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be drawing this metal this way, and it's going to make it suck down in here too low. It's going to take too much filler. So we'll go ahead and get that filled in there. Then we'll start working with this area right here down to here, make sure it all comes up and does right. have our other end pieces tacked in place here. Everything buddied up across there. Now it's still overlapping from this point on. And you can tell I hadn't put any tack welds up through here. And I got this piece of tape on there. You know, we're coming back here to like a corner and then going down. I'm going to take this much off. It's still going to be overlapped now, but I'm just taking this back to where it'll be a better, smoother line up through there. It's all seems like doing pretty good here. I had to go back and knock a few tack welds loose up in this area over here between my slits I cut in there, because you could look at it across this way, and that middle slit there on that side, it kind of dipped down just a little bit, so I cut those loose and pushed up on the bottom of the top there in the middle of that slit to put more of a hump in it coming back, and got that out of it. So after we take our little Ziz wheel and cut this outside piece off here along that tape line, we're going to get in underneath here with a piece of metal that'll go from here down through here, just say a ½ inch wider than our space there on each side, and take us some 2x2s and strip of aluminum I use, because that way the aluminum don't stick to your weld if you should get a little on it. We'll push all that up from underneath. We'll use probably about 4 of those 2x2s wedged up in there to get it right. And as you get that right, you stand up in the door opening, look down your roof this way, stand up higher, look down through there and make sure that's a good flow across there. And then of course you can squat down this way, look at it along this angle and make sure you've got an even contour there. And when we get it like we want it, we'll scribe off this piece of metal that we got under here and cut it out. Then we'll put it back in there buddied. Now cutting these slender pieces like I put in here and like I'm going to put in up here, this right over here is the best thing I found to do that with. It's just a regular old bandsaw. It's got a little plate up there on the blade. You can just lay your metal up there and cut it. It won't twist your metal. It won't stretch it, distort it any whatsoever. You can cut off a piece 1/4 inch wide there, and it won't even twist it around. I know that there's catalogs out. It's got all these little trinkets and tools you can buy, but a lot of them I think are just an expense that don't really do any better than what you have laying around. We've got everything just about tacked up here all the way around. Got one slice right here I hadn't tacked up yet. I had to cut this part right here loose on both sides because it didn't want to come out as high as this side out here once I put this strip in out here. I just cut the welds loose in that section and pushed it up a little where it have a little bow to it, and then tacked it back again to get everything butted up. I got that other side ready to tack up over there. And I thought I'd give you a shot of what you can see what you have to do there to get everything like you want it. That's just some 2x2s wedged in. I take a 1/8 inch piece of aluminum about 1 1/4 inches wide, put up there underneath the roof to put my pieces up against. That way when you weld up that crack or spot that crack, when you spot that crack, the weld won't stick to your aluminum, and that way you get a flowing line instead of just a high place there where you got a support under it. But once we get that part welded up, or once we get it tacked in place, and we put it that way, I'm going to start right in here where it starts overlapping. And I'll take my cutoff tool, my die grinder, and I'll cut about couple of inches, 2 or 3 inches here, and I'll put my clamp back here, and I'll clamp it up to where it's butted, and I'll tack it back, and I'll cut on up 2 or 3 more inches, clamp it together, and tack it when it's butted up. I'll do this all the way across. Everything that's overlapped, I'll do that too. Just cutting out a couple of inches at a time and then tacking it behind it. Now once you get up in here, when you pull it up and butt it and put a tack in it, you can take I use a dolly, a shoe heel dolly, the round part of it, and hold it in my hand and just slap that spot way off from the back, and you can see it jump up. Because when you spot it, when it cools, it's going to shrink just a little bit. So just take you something, hammer or whatever, and hit it a couple of times from the back, and you can see it jump back up there and keep its shape. And when we get all the overlap out and everything tacked and looking like we want it, we'll start welding. Now, like I say, this part back here, you just have to spot it, move over 3 or 4 or 5 inches and spot it, jump in one side to the other. You got to do the whole thing that way till you get through. And if it gets to feeling warm, when you get back over here and start again, just do something else for a minute or two, let it cool back off, and then go again. But if you keep your spots far enough apart, it won't heat up on you. It'll be cool over there when you get through over here. Now welding this up through here is going to be a different story. We can weld it faster. And I'll get into that and show you what you need to do to keep everything from drawing up and getting all out of shape as you go there. We've got our overlap cut out along here and up to this point on this side. And in the meantime, we've been kind of closing up our spot welds a little on this bottom part here. You can see there where we had that dip down in this area. I kind of slanted it off more. It wouldn't be such a quick corner there, keeping everything buddied up there. While you're using your little Ziz wheel to cut your overlap, rather than just cut straight through it, this being the higher piece, that being the lower piece, rather than just cutting straight through it, if you'll take your wheel and slant it over this way, cut it at an angle back that way, when you pull it up to butt it, there'll be a smaller gap in there you'll have to weld up. If you have any trouble welding a crack up, well, that'll close that up some to where it'll be thinner. Now this up here, coming down from the back window to the deck lid, once you get your spots in there like we had to start with, about every 2 inches apart, you take your straps of metal off. It's going to sink down about another 1/4 of an inch. That's normal. I mean, it's going to do that. But if you don't do any more than just spot this across there, that'll pretty much keep it shape. You get the welding too much, too quick, it'll start sucking down on you more so in here, because it's going to start getting hot and cooling off, and it's going to draw on you. In welding this up, we're going across the top of the rear window now. I'll show you my procedure of welding it, working it, hammering it. Remember I told you there in the beginning that about 90% of what you had to work with here is your metal cooling off after you weld it, and it's shrinking. So what you have to do is to keep it picked up. So when it cools, it'll go back down where it should be, rather than sucking in too much. But I just overlap, I tack, stick my tip of my wire right on the edge of my last tack, and do it again. Just keep going. When you tack it, you'll see through your lens a red spot where the metal's red hot, where your weld is red hot. When that red goes away, through your lens I'm talking about, when that red goes away, zap it again. The quicker you pulsate your spots, depends on how thick the metal is and how wide the crack is. You just more or less weld from spot weld to spot weld there, about an inch, inch and a half, whatever you got your spot weld apart. About 4 licks it'll pick up as high as it's going to pick up, but you can see it jump up when you hit it. Hit right under the spot that you're going to be going to next about one time. You'll see it jump up a little bit there too. You'll also notice when you weld these pieces here that through here I'm talking about it's going to suck in between them. Don't worry too much about that. You can pick it with your pick hammer a few times, just enough to make it stay up instead of down at that time. But don't do anything while it's still hot. Wait till it cools off. After we get this welded up, then we can go back in there and pick that up in there with a pick hammer till it'll stay up and not pop up and down. Pretty much get the idea of what we're looking at there. I do all that across the top that way, slices and all, welding about an inch, inch and a half at a time. Now when you go to grind these welds, don't localize. Just go across it, grinding some, one side to the other. When you get through, go back where you started and start again. Don't get it hot. Don't get it to where you can't touch it with your hand, because if you do, it's going to start shrinking again with you. You're going to have to start working again. You work it too much, it's going to start getting brittle and busted. Not your weld, but alongside your weld. Now when you get this all welded up completely, you need to get on the inside and look up, and you can see your pinholes. Or you can take you a strong light and hold under the bottom and look down through the top and see them. You want to get all those pinholes welded up. That's just a place for moisture to get under your filler and cause a bubble. And when you get it welded up, by the way, let me back up and tell you here, when you start cutting out your overlap, I forgot to tell you, when you make a cut there of a couple of inches, 2 or 3 inches, you got to get on the bottom and peel that overlap back out of the way before you butt this up and weld it. I don't think I mentioned that before, but no overlap anywhere in here. And I've done it both ways. On this one, I welded on each side. I welded this one up, then I welded this one up, then I welded this one up. I'd get both of the center ones, then these two, and then these two. And then I'd weld these up pretty much after I got this done. Now, I've done it different ways. I've done these first and then this. I don't really see it makes any difference. But I did weld both sides up to this point before I did any of the rest of it. Don't know that that makes any difference. There's a whole lot of work goes in this right here. From the time that I started locating this window and tacking it in place, the welding, the hammering, the looking, the grinding, it'll take about 25 hours. There's a whole lot of work goes in this area right here. And it can either make it or break it. That's a whole lot to do with what your car is going to look like when you get through right in there. Like I say, I'll show you on the inside here if I can get that picture. I think I can. So you can tell what you're looking at on the inside there. You want a bead on the inside just like you had on the outside. That way you know you're getting a full penetration weld. And like I say, anywhere you see a pinhole, you weld that pinhole up. And if you've got a bunch of little wire sticking through here where your wire jumped through the hole before it started welding, you need to get all those off. Any sharp edges on this inside, if you've got a big bead buildup on this inside, thickness I'm talking about, you need to grind it down, because it'll show up if it's very thick on that top side once you get your filler in. Now you can see where that brace goes across the back window right there. We're going to continue that brace on down. We'll have to fabricate us a piece like that one right there to come on down to this point, keeping it back far away from keeping it up close to the roof, in other words, so your headliner don't touch it. But that'll give you an idea of what you're looking at on the inside. Now we're going to grind all this off. Take care of that part of it. You'll notice too, like I told you, that like right in here, it's like the top of an oil can. It pops up and down. You take your pick hammer and stand where you can see the reflection off of one of your lights. You can see where you hit it with the pick hammer. But you have to just move around with your pick hammer, just different places. And what you're trying to do is there's too much metal in there. That's why it's popping up and down. There's too much metal for the space it is. So you start picking it under the bottom and make it jump up this way, and it'll finally get to the point you can pop it up or pop it down, either one. You want to get it to where when you pick it up, you can push on it and it won't pop down. It'll stay up. Now, I don't mean get up there with 50 pounds of weight. I'm talking about the force you're going to be using in doing your filler work and sanding and this kind of stuff. Any of them is going to go in chopped or unchopped if you push on it hard enough. But when we get all that done, we'll move on. Once you get all this done, get everything welded up, ground down, all of that stuff, you can go ahead and take all of your braces out, inside the car, around the back window, whatsoever. Got all our welds ground down here, slicked off. Little Krylon on there to keep it from rusting. You can kind of tell by the reflection from the overhead lights there what everything looks like. Went ahead and got our brace on the other side over there from going across the top of the back window. Need to get it back there where the headliner don't touch it. Now I went ahead and done these two door window frames on this side, so you can get an idea here of what it's going to look like. I'll give you some pointers here on the other side there, kind of carry you through this deal. It's a good bit of work in this back door back at this point here. In fact, I cheated a little bit on you there. I used the front door part off of another car on the opposite side, grafted it in here. That made it a whole lot easier. You just have to fab up what you don't have there if you don't have a donor car. Also, you'll have to lengthen your door frame up in here. And I took this section here from another car, so I just have to put one weld in it rather than two. But if you don't have a donor car there, you can take the section you cut out up here and get you enough to add to it right there. Stop right here and give you a rundown on this door window frame. We'll start with the first one, the front one here, because it's a little bit easier than that back one is back there. A little less time involved. You can see when you get ready to close your door after you do all this stuff that this point here is going to be sticking out too far out from the post, and it's going to be sticking too straight up. It's going to be running into your drip rail, so to speak. So we had to cut this one from right in this groove here at the point back up to the center, like a center of that radius to where we're going here. I think I took out about 1/8 of an inch from this point to nothing down it this way. And then over here we had to lean it over, so this over here is about 3/16 to 1/8 coming this way. And then about 3/16 all the way down through here. And then 3/16 back to 1/8 this way. That lets us lean it over and push it back. This being the corner you grind the most out of. And just make sure you follow your drip rail. Now you want this to be a little bit tight. I think this one's probably less than 1/8 of an inch coming up through here. Because when you get through welding this, and you get through welding this, it's going to pull it just a little bit. It won't move it over 1/16 of an inch, but if you start out with a 3/16 gap, you're going to end up with 1/4. So get it a little bit tight there. On the back part back here, on this part, you'll notice that it needs to be pushed that way, toward the post. So what we did on it, we cut again from the belt line of the car right here. On the jam part, we cut back this way up to about this hole and then straight up. And I took out a good 1/8 of an inch right here, maybe just a little bit more. Back to nothing here. And of course this is just a saw cut. That let us lean it over this way. And a good gauge here, this is a 5/16 nut laying down with a piece of tape over it. You do that in different places here. Like right here I did that, pushed it over till it touched that nut, tacked it on the inside. That put it over as far as it needed to be put over. Then, when you try to put this top part on, I cut this top part into 3 inches behind this screw hole. 3 inches behind it, because if you'll notice, if you look down this thing, this side goes straight. This one gets wider toward the center and then more narrow toward the other end. So 3 inches behind that screw hole up there gets you about the widest point of it. Now, when we got these two bottom pieces like we wanted them, got them leaned over leaned over and laid back and got everything welded out on these two bottom pieces. I shut the door up and marked where this bottom part came to and how far away it was where your door gap is here. Now I'll do the same thing up here. I'll mark on the drip rail where it comes to and how far it is from the drip rail. That's like a mental note right there. And on this piece up here, you'll notice that this corner is kind of like 2 square. So what I did is I cut right through here, the center of this radius up to the corner, and I spread that open, about a 1/16 inch or 3/32 or so, to make this follow this part and this follow this part. Before, if you made it fit up here to drip rail, the gap was okay here, but it was too wide here. And when you got it to meet here, it went back too close up here. So you got to cut that and spread it open just a little bit. You want this line here going in a straight line. And like I say, we got those nuts behind it. Took this one out because this is already welded. I got it up here and I got it back here. You put this piece in, you back up just a second. You got this piece there, you got it marked with the door shut. You open your door back up and you put this piece in there, get your gap right up here, you gap right back here, then you mark it where you're going to cut it. And I usually, the cut we had here was the only cut we had made. So I measure from that down to the end of this piece, I think it was 3 5/16. I measured from the end of it back, 3 5/16, several times around it, and then pull my tape around it. That way you're noticing you're cutting it to where you don't have a big gap over here and tight over here. It'll fit good all the way around. Now what we're going to do at this point, you can use what you cut out of here to put in here if you don't have another door window frame. I've got one here out of another car, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to mark on the drip rail where this piece comes to and how far it is mentally, how far it is from the drip rail. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to mark this one the same way. I'll open the door back up, then I'll take my other piece and stick in there, and when I get it to fitting like I want it to fit, I'll mark where to cut it here, I'll mark where to cut it here. And a 1/16 of an inch in here is a whole lot. You can cut it a 1/16 of an inch short, and it'll make a gap really show up. But you can hold it back up there and fill in the gap when you weld it. So that pretty much gets you through that window frame part. Go back around on the other side and show you this when it's done. And so you notice it follows the same contour of the drip rail. You don't want it dipping down here in the center. You want a good flowing line all the way through. And if you'll notice also, this door window is beginning to go downhill at the top from about this point back. That's because we chopped it 4 vertical in the back and 4 windshield posts in the front. So you can tell the top is flowing back into like a fastback look. That's what you're looking for. Almost looks like a coupe now, don't it? When you're doing your back window door frame, I took this light colored piece here out of the front door of another car on that side, the right front. Put it in here. Now, if you don't have a donor car, the piece you cut out of here, you can make it fit your drip rail up here and bring it around to here then you go out to fabricate this part going back this way. And the way I've got this right here to come in right here is you just have to open the door up and stick this in there and slide it this way. And when you get it to where you can, you just keep cutting back here to pull this all back to get it the right length to go in here. I got it down, I think the last couple of 3 cuts I made was like 1/8 of an inch or less across there, just to keep moving it forward till I felt like I had it right. I did that first, this whole piece right here first. And then a few things you got to do on the inside too. You're going to be leaning this thing toward you this way. So you're going to have to take out more down through here so it'll lean over this way. And you can see there too where I had to fabricate a piece where it started coming back before we chopped the top. I cut that off and went straight up and then went with the flow of the jam itself there. Even have to fabricate a little piece right up in there on the outside skin. And then had to run a bead down that very edge. I hadn't ground it down yet to make it fit your gap there coming out from under the drip rail. But this will give you an idea of what you're looking for. And 2, the jam on the car itself here was the corner was kind of cut off in here, this jam part, so that pointed place could go back in there when you closed the door. Well, I put a piece across here to get rid of that little trough that left in there after we cut it down, and then fabricated a piece here to make this a square corner, just like the rest of the door jamb. You can see, had to make a little piece up through here just to square that up, because now this is going to act just like the front door, and it's going to seal off the same way. And you can see here, where the part that sticks back here where the vent window went, the screws were in it, that's what's left of the 2 square holes right there. I just cut that off in line with this on back there, and then cut this little piece here to stick up, because that's where your inside molding is going to hook to keep it up close to your door panel. And you can see in here where I've cut this back to where when I put my window channel down through the door, it'll come up to the part that's going straight down here. And then, of course, your channel will go on around up just like your regular door window will. You can get like a C-channel with beads, with stainless beads on it, that'll go up in here from all the way down in there, all the way up, and all the way back down. It's kind of a flexible stuff. You can put it in there. That way you don't have to worry about putting that bead around your stainless, your window stainless up around through here. When you get through, it'll already be on there. And next I had to notch this in here so we could lay this bottom part of the post over. Got it right. Like I said before, you can take a 5/16 nut, lay it down in there, tape it to your doorpost, in other words. That'll get your inside part right. That's kind of flexible sometimes. Sometimes that's not hardly enough. Sometimes it's a little too much, but that'll kind of get you in the ballpark here, because you want your rubber to go back in there without being hard to shut the door, but yet you want it tight enough that it don't leak. And now on the front door here, you remember we had to cut this corner and open it up just a little bit on this side to make it fit right here. Well, on this one we had to slice it the same way and pull this together, because coming up this way, if you got this gap right, this edge here wanted to go up and then turn back a little. So we had to just make about a 1/16 of an inch cut up through there pull it together and then weld it back up. Did that part second, and then we're wound up with everything done to this point and everything done to this point. You just close the door, mark where they come to. Then you take the remainder of your door window frame here, open up your door, and you hold it up in there, remembering what kind of gap you had on this end and this end. Hold it up there where you get everything right, and then just mark it along the mark you put up on the grip rail there. You cut that, and it'll go back in there. And basically all we've got to do now is just weld all these welds up solid and grind everything down. And when you tack it, you know, on different corners. Because if you just tack it on one corner and you start welding, this up here is going to move this way. You want it to stay where you put it when you get it lined up. Now in welding all this out, I think I mentioned this before, I welded this part in here, this L piece right here, this corner, I welded all that and ground it all down over there on the table. It's a lot easier to get to it that way. But as you weld this up here, it will get, the gap up in here will get a little bit bigger because all this is shrinking when it cools down. And your jam is going to cause you more problems in here than anything because it's going to let you go up so far and it's going to hit in here. But usually that'll get you about 1/8 of an inch gap through here, and then when you get through, you should have about a 3/16 of an inch gap. It's a lot of time, especially in these back doors, having to work all this piece right here. Even though I took this out of another car, there was a lot of trimming and measuring and trimming and marking, and I probably spent an hour and a half just fitting that one piece in right there to get it like I wanted it without having to put a bunch of filler stuff in there. Once we get our door window frames done here, we're going to do this front vent window. Not going to worry about the back. I need enough left of it to put one back there. In the front vent window, I always cut them down in length. Of course, you got to cut them down in height, but I always cut them down in length too. I get in this a little deeper, but you can see where the divider bar did screw on to the door here. There's a screw hole up in here that holds the top of the divider bar. And of course, when you go down with the windshield, you also go forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this top hole that holds our divider bar up in there and square it up with the bottom of the window, and we're going to move this part forward. Like I said, well, I'll show you that a little later on. But in getting back to the vent window frame itself, you've got to take everything apart, and we'll start with this little visor thing up here on top. I usually just cut it away, and these back two rivets, just cut around those and leave it in there, and then just cut this rivet off up here and throw this thing away right here, because it gets awful big once you cut your top down. It sticks out like a sore thumb. So discard that thing and be done with it. Now, if you're working with a 49 or a 50, this vent window frame, get it out of here now. This vent window frame, now this is the driver's side, this is the outside. This stainless part up here, if you're working with a 49 or 50, will come all the way down to your lower bracket. On a 51, they cut some corners. And the track that your window goes up and down is all you have to work with on the bottom end. And more than likely, if you hadn't replaced those, you're going to have to anyway. So any automotive glass place can sell you this stuff right here. They're pretty proud of it, but you have to have it. Make sure you get the one with the stainless bead on it so it'll look better. They got it both ways. And you'll just have to transfer your bottom bracket onto it here. But we can set that aside for the time being. You need to go ahead and get this rivet out up here at the top. Take your vent frame out, get the glass out of it and all that stuff, you can use this piece of rubber, leave this piece of rubber right in here on your bar itself. If you have already replaced it, you'll just be cutting this off at the top. But we're going to cut this in two right here, just ahead of where it bolts onto the car or screws onto the car. We'll take some out of here, we'll take some out of here, we'll take some out of here, we'll cut some off probably up here. It just, whatever it takes to get it to fit in there right. And you can tell that this pivot point is more than halfway between here and the front. I'd say it's more like 60-40, 60% back here, 40 up here. So what we're going to try to do is, when we get it back in there, just make sure that this pivot point is closer to this end than it is back here. So it'll all pivot out right. And two, I use a longer screwdriver than this, but to position this pivot point up here in the right place, I stick a screwdriver through here, making sure it's seated at the base right here, and that'll give you 90 degrees or a straight shot from here up to the top one. You want to get those in line when you go back. So we'll do some cutting here and then we'll explain to you what we're doing. In getting everything set up here, you can see the back of our bar right here where a window channel goes. The center of this top hole up here where you mount it to the top of your door window frame, the center of that hole is like an elongated hole. The center of it is 5/16 back behind this bar. What you'll need to do now is this little hole up inside here where that screw goes. Find the center of that hole. Just stick your little screwdriver or something up in it. Find the center of it. Make you a mark out here on the outside of your door window frame so you'll know where that hole is. Okay, now if you go 5/16 forward of that hole and make your mark, that's where your bar is going to come to, the back edge of your divider bar. That's where it's going to come to. When you find that point, mark it real good. You take your framing square, set up in this window against that mark at the top, and where it comes out at the bottom, you put your mark at the bottom. That'll determine where your divider bar is going to go. Sorry about that. Okay, when you move this part forward to make everything squared up here, that's where your window's going to be going up and down. You're going to have to make your little piece to go on the inside, because roughly we're moving this forward about 2 5/8 of an inch from where it was. That means all these mounting holes is going to have to be moved forward. So you can see here that I've made me a little piece to go in there. You don't want to make it too wide. I think this is 1 1/8 inches up here at the front, because you still got to put your pivot point, nut, and all that stuff down in that hole. But you make this in line on up to here. Cut out that piece, you're going to tack it in. I usually put one on each side and drill me a hole to tack in the center, and then weld this in. Okay, ever how far you move this forward, which I say is 2 5/8 in this case, you'll move each one of these holes forward 2 1/2 inches. Now, it don't have to be a square hole. You can just drill you a 3/8 round hole. Seems to work pretty good. And then at the back here, when you run out of spacing, you need to cut it back like this edge on up and then go out. Just make it look like it is now, except move it forward ever how much it takes to get it right. Because this little angle piece right here has got to go down in that slot. When you slot this out further forward, it's got to go down in here. So we'll go ahead and tack this piece in. That'll tell us where our back bar is going to be located. And then we'll just start cutting down this frame to make it fit in there. When you get this piece welded in here, and this back here cut out, you can tell what it's supposed to look like. This little clip nut goes in there for your screw to go in. Just make sure you get this enough head of it that it don't get in the way like I almost did. And if you need to know how far to go forward with this, you just set your bar back in there in the original holes like so. In the center of the holes there, and you can measure from the back edge of your bar at this point up to where the back edge of your bar is going to be at this point, and you can see how far forward to move it. I said 2 5/8, it was more like 2 3/4 when I got down to the fine tuning there. Okay, now once you get that done, you take a measurement from about a 1/2 inch forward of your top screw hole, and you can see the thickness of this bracket up here. The thickness of that bracket and the thickness of this clip nut on the top edge of this right here is about 1/8 of an inch. So what you need to do is measure from like a 1/2 inch forward of your top screw hole straight down to this, where your clip nuts are going to be. Whatever that is, subtract about 1/8 of an inch for the thickness of your top bracket and the thickness of your clip nut. Then transfer that measurement from the bottom of this bracket up this divider bar. Wherever it comes to, that's where you're going to cut it off. Now in this case, being it's a 4-inch chop, we're taking about 2 7/8 off the height of this bar. So you might say that a 4-inch chop, as far as the windshield goes, is 2 7/8 straight down. So we'll go ahead and get that divider bar cut off. Then we'll start seeing how much to take out of here, and to take out of here to make this pivot point just a little forward of halfway of this distance here. We've got our frame cut down and fitting in the car here, or fitting for the car. Right in front of the bracket there, you can see here, I took out 1 3/8. That's after I cut it in 2 and went back and took out 1 3/8 more. Up here, I took out 1 1/4. So basically what you're trying to do is take about the same amount out behind your pivot point and in front of your pivot point, because you can tell that the pivot point is still closer to this end of the window than it is back here. That's what you're looking for. And then I cut it, coming around the bend, I cut it, and I just had to take out so much and kind of to get it up in there, and then after I got it up in there, I could tell more so where to cut it to get everything lined up right. And then I went ahead and put a new channel in here, because the one that was in it, it was a good channel as far as the felt goes. It had been put in before, but it was too deep. In other words, there was a space between the stainless bead and our frame up here. In other words, it was about 1/8 of an inch stuck out there too far. So I put the piece in there that fits it right. And like I say, on a 49 or a 50, this divider bar up here, this stainless part, will come all the way down to the bottom. So you can put this window track in there whenever you like, but on a 51, all of them I've ever seen, the window track itself is what comes from this bracket on down to the bottom, and you'll have to put your bracket on down here. Now, down here you can use some sheet metal screws or whatever, because your window is not going to come down far enough to hit these 2 screws on this bracket you're going to put down here. So you don't have to worry about that. In other words, what I'm showing you is this bracket here, so you can go ahead and screw it on without worrying about your glass chipping it. Now these points up in here where you rivet this on. Now, you can use pop rivets if you can get in there, but I use a little harness rivet like you do on leather work. You can see that they're about 1/8 of an inch diameter. They're hollow and they're about 1/4 of an inch long. You don't want them any longer than necessary. Now, you can get these at a local leather shop or harness shop. And they also have a little tool that you can put over this end that will brad that rivet. In other words, it'll take the edges and roll them over this way. I usually use just a center punch, because if you don't have much sticking out, it's not going to do anything wrong here anyway. So you can see what goes in there, and I put the smooth side next to the glass. It's real thin. These are chrome-plated brass is what they are. But they'll give you an idea how to attach this. I put one up at the top where they had one before. I put one through here. Now I just went ahead and spot welded this bracket onto this bar because there's no sense in it having to come off. Now when you get ready to position your top pivot point, I use a regular old, just a screwdriver. One is squared up back here where the shank goes into the handle. And you flush it up back here, and that'll tell you where to put your top pivot point. Now these other holes up here are probably going to get awful close. So just go ahead and weld up those other holes and grind them smooth, top and bottom. And you may have to, you'll probably figure out when you get this up there, this don't exactly line up this way. You can put this part that your screw goes in, down in the vise, take your pair of pliers, and you can pull this back, this point down here. It'll give enough that it'll come back to line it up right. Now when you're welding up this channel, you make sure you keep it straight, because that's where your rubber goes, and if you don't have it straight, looking at it this direction, your rubber is not going to fit your glass good. And when you get to this point and get this like you want it, basically all you've got to do is scale this down the same way. Take out some here, take out some here, take out some up here. And more than likely you'll cut some off up here on this end. Not sure about that, but you just have to do what it takes to make it go in there. Another thing you'll notice, when you cut this piece right here out to get everything where you can start working with it, you can go ahead and put your little friction washer back on that goes in this part, and see how close that your stainless channel will come down to your outside frame. It's usually about 1/4 of an inch. So you want to keep that 1/4 of an inch space all the way around. Don't get any closer than 3/16. Don't get any further from it than 5/16. And when you weld up your stainless, we'll go through that when we get to it, you make sure that it stays straight, because that glass is not going to give if this stainless is crooked. Now this is stainless on a Mercury, so you have to use a stainless rod or welding wire. I've got a little 3-pound spool of stainless wire that I just put in my welder. And of course it's not very big around, about 5 inches around, and I can't get all of my brake stop on there, so I just take me a little bungee cord and hook in the welder on this side and go around that spool and hook it over here. And that bungee cord going across it has got enough braking power that it'll stop it, not let it just freewheel and backlash in there like a fishing reel. And that's off those 30 thousandths too. And I also chamfer this down. What I mean by chamfering it down is when you cut it in two, you grind it to like a point, both pieces, and you'll have your little V groove to weld up. That way you'll make sure you get it strong. Now we'll get into this bracket on the bottom. Down in the door, it's going to be this whole thing will be moved forward, and I'll just show you a little piece that I adapt one to the other with in there, and that won't be any kind of problem. Now when you fit this to the car, this channel that your rubber goes in needs to be close to the window. Of course, you got your stainless to go back on there, so if it sticks up a 1/16 of an inch, you're okay. But you don't want it to be any lower than this. You don't want it to go up in behind it, in other words. Because if you do, your rubber, when you put it on there, is not going to fold back over your stainless. It's going to stick up with a crack in it. We've got our vent window frame in with a divider bar hooked to it. Remember I told you to keep this frame, you know, like no more than a 1/16 of an inch up from your outside part here, because you've got your stainless trim to go back on there. You don't want it lower than your stainless trim. Kind of get on the inside here and give you a little deal again of what we did a while ago. We just moved everything forward there and fixed everything back and squared off from this side up here down, so that'll give you an idea of what you're looking at there. You can tell already that it's in proportion. You know, we shortened it 2 3/4 of an inch over here, so you can see already how it would look if this bar was 2 3/4 of an inch back in that door. Now, next we're going to do our stainless frame itself, and I'll pretty much, you pretty much do it the same way. Make your cuts in about the same places. I cut out this section. This is the other side, but I cut out this section in here. You're going to have to cut it out just right up against where this rod goes up and comes back. Just cut it right up real close to that rivet right there. You don't have to cut it behind the end of this. Just cut it up pretty close to the rivet, because you're going to be taking out some right in here. This gets wider right here when it goes into all this latch stuff here. And then cut it off about 1.25 inches in front of this. That way you got this one little section here that you can set up in here. And make sure you get it 1/4 inch up on each end, and then mark where it comes to. Then you just have to cut this piece off back here to fit in there. And back here at the back, seems like a lot of them get them too tight. You can have your frame, your stainless part, a little bit short here. You just want your latch to come down and touch this bar. You don't want it to miss that. But you can let your glass stick out past your frame, 1/8 of an inch or whatever, to come back here to meet up with your rubber. See, this one right here was so tight, they had this rubber pushed over too. So you can kind of regulate your distance there with the glass. Just have it all together when you take it to the glass shop. Tell them what you want it to look like. And you remember me saying a while ago that I used a stainless wire in my MIG welder to weld up that stainless frame. Well, this is a little 3-pound roll. I had to take off my big spool there, my brake and all that stuff. And this little 3-pound roll just got a 5/8 inch hole in it. And I just took a bungee cord and put it through a couple of holes there to act as a brake on this spool, so I just won't keep unreeling the wire and get it all tangled up there. It's kind of funny to look at there, but it does the job. And when you start putting this stuff together, you can see here where I use a 1/16 of an inch piece of aluminum underneath that part that sticks up where your latch is there. And we're just against the table out here, that aluminum, just to keep this thing straight this way, not let it rock over one way or the other. And then, of course, where it gets smaller out here, out of that latch, that's the same as this. So I got a 1/16 under here to keep everything straight. But this has to be perfectly straight where that glass goes, because that glass is not going to give a bit when you try to put it in there. There's some time involved here. but it's all, I think, worth it when you get through with it. Make sure you grind off your welds on the inside so your glass can slide in there good. Also on this frame here, grind your welds off on the inside. You don't have to worry about them too much out here, but on the inside where that rubber goes, you need to have that ground down good. And you can grind off your welds on your stainless with your little die grinder, and then take your file and file them. You can file them this way, then you can file them this way. Just exit out. That way you can tell what you're doing and how much you're doing. And after you go across it about twice with your file, rub the filings out of your file teeth, because they'll tend to dig in and scratch your stainless. Now, it's been my experience before, you better have this stainless looking as good as you want it before you send it to get it polished, because they're going to start out with as fine a grit as they can to save them time. So if you got some big rough gouges in there, just like from your grinder, it's probably going to come back from a polisher the same way. But you can see here on this one too, where I stuck this screwdriver up through here and made me a mark where that top pivot is. And you got to make this pivot on your vent window, this stainless frame, you got to have it to come out in the same place. Now this is pot metal. This little pivot is pot metal on Mercury. So if you're going to do any hot work around here, this thing won't let you know when it gets too hot. It'll just spat and hit the floor just like lead will. Got one of the stainless frames cut down and welded back here. You can see where I had to take out a piece here, here, up here, and right above the pivot point. I didn't do any forming on any of this channel as far as changing the shape of it other than this point. After I got this part here cut out, I'm talking about the piece from here to where I could fit it inside my other frame, this corner had to be bent just a little bit more round. So I just set one end of it on the table, took my hammer, held it up right, and hit that other end. That was enough to kind of pull it together this way to keep everything going right. So that'll give you an idea of what you're looking at there. We've got our frame all put back together here. Cut the rubber down. You have to cut it basically the same place as you cut your stainless. I think the rubber's cut here, 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 and back here. And when you cut your rubber, cut it a little bit too long and more or less pack it in there. Compress it, in other words. Because you don't want it to have gaps in it where you join it back together. After it's all said and done, if you like, you can spread it apart, put you some little black sealer in there, and let it go back together, and the excess will squish out, and then you can just trim the excess with a razor blade after everything dries up. I was telling you about making a bracket down inside the door here. I normally just take a piece of aluminum, about 1/8 inch thick, 1 1/4 inch wide, about 4 inches long. And basically what you're going to do here, this is kicked out away from your door panel more since it's leaning in at the top. This goes further out toward the outside of the door. And it's too far forward since we shortened everything up. But this is not the right piece of aluminum now, but I usually take a piece of aluminum after I get this in the car and just clamp this to this with a little pair of vice grips and let this end come over to where my other 2 holes are in the door. And when I can get it positioned in there where I can get a hole in these 2 up here and the 2 in the door and keep it within the piece I'm using, I'll just mark all my holes and then drill them. And then screw it to this, and then screw this part to the door. I believe if you try to extend this bracket on back and just make one bracket, you're going to find out that when you get ready to take it out of the door, you're not going to be able to get it out. So that pretty much wraps up that vent window part. I went ahead and ground all the wells and filed them and all this stuff. Also make sure you get them all filed on the, or ground on the inside so your glass can go back in. And you need to get these looking good before you send them and have them polished, because they're not going to hurt themselves getting grinder marks and such out. Now we're getting ready to move on to the inside moldings for the doors. And I'm going to cheat a little on you again on this deal. This is the real one for the driver's side. I'm going to take this off of a front door and then graft it in there, make everything work out right in the back door. But basically you trim this down just like you did your door window frame. You'll have to take your amount out of here, and on the back one you'll have to shorten it up here. On the front one you'll have to lengthen it, and then on the front you're going to have to cut it down. Now bear in mind here, while you're working with this and getting everything to fit back up, you're losing some screw holes in your door window frames. This one back here mainly, but it's an eyesore to start with. And you can see here that this has got a curve to it. Now these cars came from a factory. They had a little piping, upholstered piping, that stuck in between the door frame and the inside molding to cover that crack. Well, while you're fitting all this back up, make sure that molding comes up and fits good in this curve right here. You won't need any piping, and you won't need this screw. And should, when you come to that point, you get your upholstery panel on and it's padded or whatever, and you have trouble shutting a door, it may be because that this padding is pushing this molding out down here. So in that case, you can put your screw right in the end of your molding, just like you got up yonder in the front, and tighten this down, and that'll let this shut, because this padding and stuff is holding everything back, and it's hitting your windlace that goes around the door in there. That'll be what's holding you off. So we'll get this cut down right here, and then we'll show it to you once it's cut down, show you where we cut it and all that stuff. This is the driver's side door window molding on the inside. You can tell where we had to cut out some right there. Had to lengthen it about 2 or 3 inches right there. Had to cut out some up here toward the front, and we had to notch that corner and lean that part back just a little bit. I took this piece that I added right here out of here. So that part, no, I'll take that back. I took that piece I added out of here, out of the back. And that made everything fit up real good there. Now on the back window molding, we're almost through with it, but I thought I'd stop and show you something right here. This part that we took out of a front door, this corner up here, to get everything to fit our window. When we got everything welded up, the bottom part, what came off of the 4-door, was wider here than what this other piece is. But this piece back here leaves us a channel wide enough, or a slot wide enough, to get our window channel in. So I just made a slice up through here, all the way up to this little tab up here that holds it up to the door there on the bottom of the window. I'm just going to take this and push it right in under there and get it flush with the corner and weld it back up that corner. That'll make all this flow out. And of course back here where this turns down, we've got to continue this on back and around here so we can put our windlace to it. And on this one, in cutting it to fit, This up here is just more or less to make it follow the contour of the back door opening, window opening. Had to notch it and pull it down just a little bit, but I didn't cut it all the way in two. Of course, you can see where I took out some at the front there. Now this corner, you remember on the door we had to bend this just a little bit more, pull it more in this way. Well, before you cut this piece off down here to make it the right height, you can take this thing and get it in your hands and squeeze it together, this end and that end, and tweak that right there to make it work, so you won't have to cut that. And of course, we grafted on our pointed piece here, and then had to cut this again to pull that top part down a little bit. Like I say, you're losing some screw holes here. You're losing this front one that was in there. So when you're laying this thing down and welding it up, make sure that this fits this edge real good right here. You don't want a big crack in there. You've got two holes up here at the top that's going to hold it on, and you've got one right back here in this point. This one up here has got this clip on it, so it's not going to come out this way. Good bit of work in a four-door with it. Makes a nice looking car when you get through. Had to show you this right here. The one on the outside is for the other side. It hadn't been cut down yet. And the one on this side fits right inside of it. Quite a bit of difference in stock and chop 4 inches. Well, we've got all our inside door window moldings done. Went ahead and cut the windshield moldings, not really much to that. You just need, before you cut it, hold it up to your windshield on the outside and make sure you got this curve right here to fit your opening, and then slip it down and take this one. This one up here is probably turned too much. So you can get a hold of it down here and up here and pull it, like you're trying to straighten it out. Usually you can spring this enough right up in here to make it fit that contour. And then I always go in about 1.5 inches there below that screw hole, make my top cut, and then measure down 4 inches just like we did on the windshield, make the bottom. Now I measure 4 inches on one side, then 4 inches on the other side from my tape mark. That way when you put it back together, it'll all come back and meet on both sides. And just kind of keep it going the same, the top and bottom parallel with each other there. You'll probably have to twist one or the other, but the side that fits up against your windshield glass, make sure it stays flat against your table while you're working this. Now we're going to move on here to the divider bar in the center of the windshield. Now this is just my opinion. You may want to leave this out and butt the windshield. You may even want to leave the front vent windows out. If that's the way you like it, fine. To me, this just gives a Mercury its character right here, the divider bar and the vent windows. Now, this is the top of your inside chrome piece. It goes on the inside. Your mirror goes here. And then these 3 holes right here is where the screws goes. It holds it together to the outside. I always make my cut between these 2 bottom holes. Now you can do it any way you want to. If you want to make your cut up here, that'll be fine. Or if you want to make half of it up here and half of it down here, that'll be fine. But down here is normally where your windshield will leak, and these screws is what holds that rubber tight against the window. So I like to get these 2 screw holes closer together down at the bottom, hopefully to stop it from leaking. On this piece here, you'll notice the stainless slides over this other piece that's got the nuts in there. Some of them are a booger to get out. But to me, if you'll take it Don't mess up your nuts now, but if you'll lay it on a vise and take you a block of wood, and lay on it, and take your hammer and hit the block of wood along. Just make a pass from top to bottom. And what you're doing, see, this has got a hump in it in the middle. What you're doing is you're spreading this apart a little bit. You're mashing the hump down, and that makes each side go out away from this inside piece. A lot of times you can just do that, not really bend it, just jar it a little bit, and that'll shake the rust loose in there and let it come out. Don't think rust is going to be the problem here. I think it's got windshield sealer in it. So we'll have to wrestle with that. And then this inside part here with the nuts in it, you'll have to cut it exactly the same amount as you do this other piece, so your screw holes will line up. And then I'll get back with you on shortening your stainless down. One more thing, the tack strip, I guess I can call it, on the inside, up above your windows there. Hope I can see this. It's got those little teeth in it. It goes along top of there, got the screws in it. You'll have to lengthen the front door just like you did the front door opening. On the back, you'll have to shorten it. I took the piece that I shortened it with in the back one and added it to the front one. And then, of course, back here at the back, down in this area, you just have to cut a little bit off of it. And I did put an extra screw in the end of it there because it was almost 4 or 5 inches up to that first screw. So that'll get you going there. We're still going to have to make us a window channel to go in this back door. We're going to start that channel up here, and we're going to take it down through here, and it'll probably be below the window regulator. We'll make us a bracket to come over to here. Now then, this window track that goes in the front of the door, I'm talking about this one. Leave it goes like so. You put that in first, and you measure inside of here at the top to your track at the back. You measure from top to top, you measure from bottom to bottom. That way make them parallel with each other. You'll also notice that when we lean this window frame over that way, you can screw it up to this hole right here, but you're going to have to move this hole out. Now, I usually take me a little narrow straight edge, about a 1/2 inch wide, lay against this. That's after I get the top screw put in the hole there. Just lay it inside this and go all the way down to the bottom of that window track. And then when you get that in a straight line, then you'll know where to drill to put your hole at the bottom. And that back one has got to be kicked out the same as this front one up here. So you'll have to figure that deal out too. We've got our divider bar cut down, the inside piece and the center piece there. Everything's slicked off good. Now we're going to work on this outside stainless piece. What you need to do, we cut the windshield post 4 inches. So what I did is I cut this right here 3 15/16 from the end. I measured back a little bit less than 4 inches. When you cut this off, you take this and lay it right on top of your piece you're going to keep here, and you trace off this contour here. You grind it back to your line. Make sure you get it all cut off there with your little die grinder, make it look good and smooth. Also, these little notches back here, you can see where they come back a little bit from the end. Make this exactly like this. Now, this this point from here to this point is a 1/16 of an inch longer than it is on this one. But when we put this bend in it right here, it'll be right. Now what you're going to do when you get that all cut like you want it, you take this and you lay it on a piece of hardwood. Of course, now you need to take you another block and set back here on the back end of it, like so. Set it up on here. Okay, you slide this up about 1/8 of an inch from each side right here. You take you another block and put on top of that, and you clamp them together. Then you take your hammer, I have to borrow this block right here. You take your hammer and lay this block right behind that, and you hit this block right here with your hammer. And that'll knock this part down and put this hump in here. Then you can just take your pliers and push that down. We're going to do our stainless trim around the windows here. On the front, you're going to have to make it longer up in the top up here. And I have an extra piece right here I'm going to get that from. But basically, it's cut into here to start with. You're going to have to cut it along here. Maybe put just a little bit more bend in this. Then you're going to take from this section up to about halfway here, make it fit. Then I'll take this other piece and go from there back to here to make it fit, making my cut about halfway, and then take this one and come on back around. And of course on the back one back here, you're going to have to shorten up this part up here. So you're going to wind up with a joint right here, one up here about your pivot point for your vent window, one in the top and one back here. And on forming it, if you have to do any forming in this corner, after you get this cut in two here, I usually just set this up on the ledge of the car right there and hook it on back in the middle of the window and take your torch and heat the outside. And then when you do, take this and gently pull it back. Now you got to watch it and don't let it, you got to keep it from doing this. You got to hold it straight. But if it starts to fold over with you, you lay it on a smooth rubber mat. This is an 1/18 piece of aluminum. Stick it right up in that slot. Take your hammer and peck around on the back side of it, and that'll straighten it back up. Now that should be about all the heating and forming you have to do is right in this one point right here. If something else likes just a little bit working, not enough bow or something, you can slip it down over your grip rail. And that way you can straighten it out a little bit if it's got too much bow in it. Just by pulling it down with your hands, that grip rail will keep it from turning over on you. While you're doing this stainless, you need to put the point area in first, make it fit good, hold it back in this corner real good, mark where that comes to. Then you need to make this piece fit. Cut it. You can file the end of it after you cut it with your Z's wheel and clean it up and square it up. Always file from the window side out. Put that one in, mark where it comes to, holding everything in there real tight. You take that section back out. You just make you a rough cut in here somewhere a little bit too long. Make this piece fit, and then come up here to where your mark was and cut it. Then you put those three pieces back in. Kind of get halfway up and down to your window here, cut that one, mark where it comes to, and then take this one and fit it in. Now when you take this back out, you have to take it out the same way. Take this piece out first, that piece, and then that piece. That's the only way you can get it out if you got it in there good and tight. And of course the little clips, if you want it to look real good, you can get you some more clips and put on there. Mr. Merc has them. And I did have to do just a little bit of heating right in this corner. And then I didn't really like the way it fit in here and in here, so I done a little heating right in there to make that come out like I wanted it to. And there's some little clips that holds this stainless onto the car. I put two, one in each piece, up here to hold this up, because really that's about the only place it could fall out. And then I put one back here to hold it back, because this is a little bit sloppy right here. I didn't do anything there. And then I put one right back from the clip to hold this part down. So I use 4 in each window. Now on the windshield, before you do any cutting, just put your bottom part up there. A lot of times you can take it and just get a hold of it up here and down here and pull it over just a little bit. Don't kick it, just gently pull on it. You can get this one right. And a lot of times you can get this one right simply by doing that before you ever cut it in two. If you can't, well, just put your little heat on it. You can do that after you cut it in two and get it pretty much like you want it. But that'll pretty much wrap up all that stainless work. We've got our belt line stainless there, cut at the right angle. You got to shorten the back on just a little bit there too. Well, really what I done on this back one, you know, it was going this way. And right where it starts to go off of the end, I cut it along that line, about 3/16 back from the end, up this direction. Then I came back down and just cut like an A-shaped piece out of there. But I didn't hardly cut it in two right on this top edge. I just took me a pair of pliers and folded that back. Now you're going to come out with a notch down here in the bottom, but a good guy with a TIG welder, he can weld all that up for you, and then you can just file it back down and polish it out. The one on the door, the back door here, I took off with a front door on the other side, because it tend to want to be just a little bit short by doing the same thing to it. So I just shortened it on this end and put the cap back on it here. So that all looks pretty decent there now. You short. Went ahead and got our vent window put back in here. Got the stainless around the window. I don't know if I mentioned or not, but when you take this stainless out, take this piece out first, this piece second, this third, this one last. Put it back in and